we start, I just wanted to welcome everyone here. Thank you so much for spending your time with us, and hopefully we have a great meeting and you guys can add amazing input to Bellevue's future. City Clerk, can we do the roll call, please?
Mayor Robinson is excused from tonight's meeting, so I'll start with you. Deputy Mayor Malakoutian?
Here.
Councilmember Bhargava?
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Here.
Councilmember Lee?
Here.
Councilmember Nieuwenhuis?
Here.
And Councilmember Suma Deburia?
Councilmember Lee, would you please lead us in the flag salute?
Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have two proclamations. The first one is the Pride one, and Councilmember Suma Deburia is going to read that. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Whereas lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning, intersex, asexual, non-binary, and two-spirit LGBTQ+ communities are integral to the vibrancy of Bellevue, contributing immeasurably to our city's academic, economic, artistic, cultural, civic, and social spheres. And whereas the month of June is designated as Pride Month to commemorate the Stonewall Riot of June 1969, widely recognized as a catalyst for the LGBTQ+ rights movement, and to ensure we are continuing to uphold and protect the rights of this community. And whereas this month is a time to celebrate the progress achieved through decades of activism, while also recognizing the continued need to eliminate discrimination, uplifting marginalized voices, invest in inclusion, support the well-being of young people who belong to this community, and affirm the dignity and rights of all people regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity. And whereas the City of Bellevue opposes legislation denying respect and dignity to individuals on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity or expression, where ensuring current city practices comply with the state law, including the Washington Law Against Discrimination, Chapter 49.60 RCW, which prohibits discrimination based on gender or sexual orientation. And whereas the city is further committed to protecting and preserving the rights of our trans and non-binary communities, upholding respect for the identity of every individual, supporting legal equality, and ensuring that acts of discrimination and hatred are not tolerated in our community. And whereas the City of Bellevue will continue its strong support for LGBTQ+ community members and visitors by flying the Pride flags at our city facilities during June, holding events and dialogues to celebrate and honor these perspectives, showcasing inclusive public art in civic spaces, partner with community organizations to host and promote Pride events, and advancing policy that affirm belong and equity. Now, therefore, I, Claire Suma Deburia, on behalf of Lynn Robinson, the Mayor of City of Bellevue, Washington, and on behalf of City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2025 as Pride Month in Bellevue, and reaffirming our commitment to stand in solidarity with LGBTQ+ communities against ongoing discrimination and injustice, as we celebrate the meaningful, lasting impacts of this community on Bellevue's rich and diverse history and culture. We invite all community members to attend our Pride on the Plaza event, June 4th, noon to 2 p.m. at City Hall.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Suma Deburia. We have Axon Burton, Executive Director, Pride Across the Bridge, who will receive this proclamation. Please come and sit and share with us your insight.
Hello, folks. I know that I have a minute and I have a lot more insight than just a minute, but I will try my best to fit into a minute and 22 seconds. Being grateful. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, council members, as well as Mayor Lynn Robinson, who we're missing, for sharing the City of Bellevue's Pride Proclamation. Especially in our current socio-political climate, having a city name its support for its target community is an absolute blessing and oftentimes a gift, especially with the rest of our country right now. Very grateful for the City of Bellevue and leadership. Accepting this proclamation on behalf of Pride Across the Bridge is a celebration and a call to action. It means visibility, dignity, and affirmation in a region where our existence has often been overlooked or treated as an afterthought. It sends a message to our queer youth, our rainbow elders, and everyone in between that we belong in Bellevue. Pride Across the Bridge is one of the very few small volunteer-led nonprofits, caregivers of a targeted community, resilient population that is only recently beginning to be recognized and resourced over here on the east side. While Pride proclamations like this truly matter, our community continues to face urgent gaps in care, access, and connection. Especially in the face of rhetoric and historic neo-Nazi level resurgence and explicit and coordinated backlash to our existence and human rights, we urge you to continue leaning into community and into the needs shared by those with lived experience at this critical time. Specifically, Pride Across the Bridge continues to ask Bellevue to affirm a resolution that we have sent to each of you. Something that's not only celebrating this Pride proclamation and the month of Pride in June, but clearly outlines what the city will and will not invest its money, personnel, and actions into at the risk of our trans and non-binary community. Resolutions help safeguard our rights and access to rapidly changing landscapes. They offer clarity, accountability, and trust that is still being built between us and the city of Bellevue. We believe Bellevue can align with other East Side cities, including Redmond, who's signing their resolution tonight. Bothell and Sammamish already signed. Not only by naming its support during Pride Month, but also committing to its action year-round. Thank you very much for this proclamation, and this is especially now the time to keep leaning in. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Dr. Whitehead.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Deputy Mayor and council members. With tonight's proclamation, Pride Month is officially underway. Through the collaboration of an employee planning team, Axon representing Pride Across the Bridge, and our DA team, we got busy with a very simple goal, and that was to make this Pride Month a time for celebration, learning, and meaningful impact. As has been mentioned earlier, tomorrow's activities will include a flag-raising ceremony, a keynote speaker, Eric Longoria, live entertainment, LGBTQ+ food truck vendor. So with this, I would like to thank you. We appreciate your continued support and look forward to your participation as we honor and uplift our LGBTQ+ community. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, both. We will do a picture after the second proclamation. Thank you so much. We have the second proclamation that Councilmember Neuenhaus will read, Men's Health Week.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Whereas Men's Health Month is part of an ongoing international effort to educate men, boys, and their families about the importance of regular health screenings and adopting healthier lifestyles. And whereas in the United States, life expectancy for men average 5 years fewer than that of women, with men experiencing higher rates of health issues such as diabetes, obesity, cancer, heart disease, and premature mortality. And whereas Men's Health Month serves as a time for the public to recognize the mental and physical needs of men and boys, encouraging fathers and male role models to lead by example through preventative health screenings, healthy living, and seeking necessary medical care. And whereas the growing concerns of suicide and substance abuse highlight the need for increased awareness of unrecognized and undiagnosed depression and mental stress amongst boys and men. And whereas the centerpiece of Men's Health Month is National Men's Health Week and is celebrated annually during the week leading up to and including Father's Day, passed by Congress and signed into law by President Bill Clinton on May 31st, 1994. Now, therefore, I, Jared Neuenhaus, on behalf of Lynn Robinson, Mayor of Bellevue, Washington, on behalf of its City Council, do hereby proclaim June 9th through June 15th of 2025 as Men's Health Week in Bellevue, and urge community members to encourage men and boys in their lives to practice healthy habits and to seek regular medical advice and early treatment for disease and injury. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Newhouse. Let's take pictures first with Dr. Whitehead and Axon, and then we don't have a recipient for men, so see what happened. Who wants to take picture for that? Great. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. We can go to oral communication. City Clerk, are there any speakers sign up to provide oral communication?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Tonight, there are 12 pre-registered speakers on the list. So before I start calling names, I'll go over a few of the rules that the council has in place. So the total time for oral communications is for a period of not more than 30 minutes, and all topics must relate to City of Bellevue government. People speaking to items on tonight's agenda will be called first, and then if time remains, people speaking to items not on tonight's agenda will be called. In each of those categories, the presiding officer has the authorization to give preference to those who have not spoken to council within the last 60 days, or to people who will be speaking to items that will come in front of the council within the next 60 days. Speakers are allowed to speak up to 3 minutes, and only 3 speakers are allowed to speak to any one side of a particular topic. And then I also want to remind folks that in compliance with Washington State campaign laws, regarding the use of public facilities for campaign purposes, no speaker may support or oppose a ballot measure or support or oppose a candidate for election, which includes one's own campaign. So any speaker beginning to speak on that topic will be asked to stop. And with that, I'll call our first speaker, who's David Bonathan.
Welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Dear council members, my name is David Bonathan, and I'm a member of the MBNA and resident of Maiden-Bower Bay. I appreciate the opportunity to provide Phase 2 input and alternatives that better reflect our community needs. I will also address misconceptions in the Park Department's Phase 2 published survey results. Phase 2 concerns and alternatives. Number 1, parking relocation. Move all parking to the east parcel behind the Chevron station. By eliminating parking at the Kite site, this would ease traffic congestion on surrounding streets while reducing intrusive lighting and noise, improve safety for pedestrians, and eliminate 2 parking garage entry-exit points on 100 Avenue Southeast, reducing traffic choke points. Number 2, a simpler natural park design. Remove the elevated walkway, viewing pavilion, and the parking garage. Instead, design a passive open green space park with paths leading to the bay. This approach would significantly reduce costs, which are currently forecasted at $40 to $50 million, preserve neighborhood character, and provide a natural inviting green park in balance with nature in Maiden-Bower Bay. Number 3, marina preservation and expansion. Bellevue's boating community is growing, yet the current plan lessens slips from 79 to 48. Despite a wait list of approximately 90, this decision reduces both access and revenue within an economical, vibrant, and growing recreational activity. In approximate dollars, proposed slip reduction is minus $340,000 yearly in lost revenue, and for 5 years, that'd be $1.7 million, or 10 years, $3.4 million in lost revenue. Clarifying Phase 2 survey results. Kite survey feedback. The Parks Department reported 63% support, combining responses of satisfied and somewhat satisfied. In reality, 64% of respondents were not clearly satisfied. Presenting this as a majority endorsement misrepresents the public's true sentiment. Marina Bay Connector and survey feedback. The Parks Department reported this at 58 support, combining responses of satisfied and somewhat satisfied. In reality, 60.7% of respondents were not fully satisfied. Again, combining partial support with full satisfaction distorts the results and damages public trust. My closing appeal to you is this project prioritizes citywide connectivity at the expense of an established residential neighborhood already burdened with significant traffic issues. I respectfully ask the city to reconsider and pursue a more compatible alternative. Maidenbower Bay deserves a balanced neighborhood-first approach, more green space, smarter marina policy, and infrastructure scale to fit its surroundings. Thank you for your time and your commitment to Bellevue's future. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Rod Binden.
Welcome.
Good evening, council members. I'm Rod Binden, president of the Maidenbower Bay Neighbors Association. We all understand that Phase 2 of the Maidenbower Park expansion will add to the already heavy traffic on the Main Street 100th area. For this reason, the neighbors encourage the city to plan for this increase. We're requesting that the council help in ensuring it is a great park for not just the public and the city of Bellevue, but for the neighbors as well. To be specific, we'd like to provide adequate access on 100 Southeast by ensuring the width is not compromised and that delivery trucks, fire trucks, garbage, and other service vehicles have as good or better access that they have now. In addition, we suggest that the historic nature of 100th as Bellevue's first street be emphasized. This has historic significance with the ferry dock, the whaling industry, and the U.S. Army during World War II. This story should be told. The views from Phase 2 will be fantastic, and we suggest that the existing views from the Kite site be captured in their natural state from Main Street and also from intermediate viewpoints going down to the marina without building large, expensive structures to do so. Eventual removal of the marina roof will enhance the view even more. Most cities in the greater Seattle area are trying to increase the size of their marinas to make them more boater-friendly. This can be observed in Renton, Kenmore, Kirkland, and Seattle, as well as other nearby areas. For Bellevue to eliminate slips and user parking is a mistake. An attractive waterfront can coexist with boating, swimming, youth sailing, kayak, and paddleboard rentals. We encourage Bellevue to reconsider any closure plans and instead attempt to enhance what's there now. We urge you to allow this to happen. I've been a member of the Yacht Club for 50 years, and before that I kept a boat at the city dock. The current plan for remote marina parking on the Kite site will not be practical for mortgage tenants for logistic and service reasons. In addition, it appears that there are conflicting plans in play having to do with parking, mooring slip count, and other uses currently under discussion. For example, the planners are planning to reduce both parking and slip count. However, the kayak and canoe rental people currently occupy four parking stalls with 10 to 20 customers most of the time. There are also plans to continue running the Duffy boat for shoreline tours, another demand on parking. There is unaccounted spillover parking from some of the restaurants on Main Street, as well as other businesses. This is not the time to reduce parking and slip count in Maidenbower Bay. MBNA is asking the council to direct staff to retain as much parking at the marina as possible during Phase 2. That would allow real-world assessment for needs in Phase 3.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Scott Lampy.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Deputy Mayor Malakushin and council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I am a board member of the Maidenbower Bay Neighbors Association. I previously served for 10 years on the city's Transportation Commission, including 2 as chair. Providing adequate parking, as you've just heard before, for the Maidenbower Bay Park is a major issue, both for today's existing condition as well as going forward. From my first walking tour of the site several years ago with the BDA, the universal concern for adequate parking was abundantly clear. I live 1 block north of the existing Maidenbower Bay Park and 1 block west of the downtown park, and can attest to the large number of Maidenbower Bay Park users who already walk from the downtown park on any given nice day due to the limited parking available. Staff's proposal is to build 80 parking spaces, which includes 50 at the Kite site and 30 at the Bayview East location, while eliminating 69 parking spaces at the waterfront, a net increase of only 11 spaces. In addition, the location of the new spaces is much less convenient for park and marina users. Our recommendation is that every effort be made to preserve the existing waterfront parking, as you've heard previously. It is important to note that the study performed by the city's consultant, 10W, assumed no spillover parking usage from Main Street and the downtown park, which we believe is unrealistic. Further, the consultant assumed an average vehicle occupancy of 4 to 5. A recognized consultant retained by MBNA, Bill Popp Associates, states in their report that 4 to 5 numbers are largely unheard of, and 2.5 average vehicle occupancy is more accurate. This factor alone would require 57 more parking spaces. The study indicates that adequate parking exists for the current park. The study relied on weekly average parking space usage, which does not accurately reflect peak demand on warm days, especially weekends, as well as users who park in other locations, as mentioned previously. It is abundantly clear that providing adequate parking was a major consideration in the proposal from staff due to the inclusion of the 50 expensive stalls configured into the Kite parcel. We believe the data relied upon for the recommendation needs much further ongoing analysis before the city commits to eliminating any of the existing parking. Thank you for the opportunity to provide these hopefully constructive comments as you move forward with the next steps for the next phase of this key element in the wonderful Bellevue Park system. Thank you.
The next speaker on our list is Pradnya Desh.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. I know most of you, but my name is Pradnya Desh. I'm a Bellevue resident, tech startup founder, attorney, and a trustee of Bellevue College, but I'm speaking here tonight in my private capacity. Before you today is a study session item about an inclusive innovation policy partnership, which is to direct staff to return a formal resolution supporting innovation design partnerships. I urge you to support it to bring it back on consent, especially the 5 pillars to keep talent and investment here in Bellevue while advancing affordability and smart growth. So the first is streamline pilot pathway to adopt the draft innovative design partnership policy so that startups, nonprofits, and schools can test new solutions on city land and rights of way under a single set of transparent rules. The second, sorry, I'm a little out of breath. I ran from the parking lot, but I just made it. The second is inclusive priorities require every partnership to demonstrate a community benefit. Digital equity, workforce training, climate resilience, and lower cost housing before it's approved. And the third is measured accountability, built-in performance metrics, public dashboards, and a closeout report for each project, so only successes scale citywide. That's very important for startups. And the third is procurement flexibility. Authorize the facility and asset management director to write guidelines that let Bellevue buy successful pilot products without restarting from scratch, because startups have a very limited runway to do that. And the fifth is leverage city assets with guardrails. So permitted limited term use of land, data, and surplus devices paired with strong risk management and compliance language already drafted in Section 10 of that framework. So these elements mirror the city's innovation vision as well as Bellevue College's Bellevue College's mission, which I helped draft and adopt last month, which is we innovate boldly, we remove barriers, and equip students to thrive in an evolving world. Although tonight, I'm not speaking for the college, that sentence captures why this framework matters so much to me personally. We want our students, our students rather want internships that solve real civic problems. And our startups here in Bellevue, of which I lead one, need a sandbox to close to home so that they don't board a flight to Silicon Valley like I have done so many times to be able to test our products. With this policy in place, it's possible that we can support both. Innovation and livability are not trade-offs. Modular building pilots can cut housing costs, AI-enabled transit optimization can shorten commutes, green energy demonstration can lower energy bills. Your action tonight can help to start to connect those dots. So therefore, I respectfully recommend that the council direct staff.
Ms. Desch, I'm sorry, your time has expired.
Thank you. Please adopt it.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Valentina Veniva, who I believe is joining us online. Ms. Veniva, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, your time begins now.
Hello, council members. My name is Valentina. I am a resident of Bellevue, and once again, I want to express my strong support of the Staffs and Planning Commission's proposed land use code amendment for middle housing. You already know that Bellevue is growing increasingly unaffordable both to retirees on fixed income and to younger families working in Bellevue because housing costs drive up the cost of living in general. And you already know that 81% of Bellevue residents support middle housing near transit and jobs, and 2/3 of residents support middle housing in residential areas. The rest of my comment is also something that you hopefully already know, but I want to remind you that allowing middle housing is also very good for the city's budget. The city has lots of infrastructure to maintain, and some of those projects cannot be deferred. This includes aging utility infrastructure like lake lines in Lake Washington and Lake Sammamish built in the 50s and 60s. Those projects to replace sewer facilities will be very expensive, and the city needs the money. New construction can help with that. The city's revenue from real estate sales and construction-related taxes is in stagnation, and limits on what and where can be built is the factor that this council has direct influence on. Middle housing units are almost as cheap to build as a Mac mansion, but are easier to sell so the city can expect more sales and accompanying taxes. New units also mean collecting additional utility fees and utility taxes, which will allow the city to limit rate increases for existing residents. More residents in the city means that more people will spend money in Bellevue because people prefer to go to dentists, restaurants, hair salons, and retail where they live. This will let the city receive more in sales and business taxes, which are an important source of income for the city. Given how uncertain sources of state and federal funding are, and how uncertain the economic situation is in general, it is prudent for the city to future-proof its budget and to make sure that the current residents will not be the only ones on the hook to pay for all the maintenance that is now coming due. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Cameron Cast.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cameron Cass, and I'm here to support the Middle Housing Land Use Code Amendment that is proposed by the Planning Commission. I live in middle housing that was built over 40 years ago, and without it, I likely wouldn't be able to live in this city that I love to call home. I moved here for a job, and in Bellevue, my wife and I have also had the opportunity of building our own business. And I'd like more people to have opportunities like me by living in a unit that best suits them in size, location, and affordability. However, if we don't allow more to be built, the housing shortage will get worse. Allowing choices and availability with the supply of homes of all shapes and sizes will provide more affordable homes for people with jobs here. And as these new homes get built, higher income families can move into the newer housing, freeing up some of the older housing stock for those that can't afford it. Bellevue has jobs. People want to live here to work those jobs. We should let them. Lastly, as citizens, we have a job to usher our city into the future. After all, it's Bellevue's mission to be a collaborative and innovative organization that is future-focused and committed to excellence. More middle housing will allow more middle-class families to live in this great city, leading to growth into the future with more school enrollment from families. We've already seen the closures of Eastgate Elementary School and Wilburton Elementary School in 2023 due to declining enrollment. Is that really the future that we want? A city-conducted questionnaire showed that 81% of Bellevue residents were supportive of middle housing near transit and jobs, and I urge you to listen to those with a vision for the future of this city. Again, I fully support the Middle Housing Land Use Code Amendment proposed by the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jay Thaler, who is also joining us online. Mr. Thaler, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. It's Thaler.
Yes, thank you. Your time begins now.
Okay. Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak today. So I heard from someone in the Bellevue Police Department that there's a proposal being floated around to install 70 automatic license plate reader cameras throughout the city of Bellevue, and through either Flock or Axon or some other company. I find this very concerning for several reasons. There was just a news report that came out last Thursday, May 29th, that a Texas cop performed a nationwide search of these camera databases, which does not require a warrant, to try to find a woman who had an abortion. He was able to search data from at least 2 cities in Washington state. In Spokane, they share all their data with agencies in Idaho, where abortion is also illegal. There are also reports that ICE is using license plate reader data for their aggressive deportation programs. In some cases, they have purchased complete access to databases. In other cases, they simply contact one local sympathetic police officer to run searches for them, bypassing any restrictions put in place regarding data sharing. In addition, a lawsuit has been filed against the city of Norfolk in Virginia, asserting their citywide license plate readers violate the Fourth Amendment rights of their residents. A judge denied the city's motion to dismiss, citing a Supreme Court ruling regarding similar usage of cell phone towers to track movement. That trial is scheduled to begin this fall. Civil rights are hard-won but easily lost, and these devices put them in jeopardy by tracking the movement of innocent residents and allowing warrantless searches. There's a reason they are opposed by civil rights champions like the ACLU, the Electronics Frontier Foundation, and the University of Washington Center for Human Rights. Police agencies in the state of Washington do have a set of guidelines defined as to how ALPRs are to be used, but they are entirely voluntary, and researchers have discovered multiple instances where the guidelines are not being followed. In Washington, there are no current state laws regulating ALPR use. These are not hypotheticals. This is what's happening now. The potential harms are clear and apparent, but the problem is we don't even know how the system is being used and misused until reporters dig in to find out. So I'm asking you today if you would please commit to safeguarding and prioritizing our civil rights by putting a hold on all new deployments of interconnected license plate readers, as well as denial permits for HOAs and private entities to install them on public throughways, until such time as there exists legally binding regulations around what data may be collected, how the data may be used, with whom the data may be shared and for what purpose, and how long the data may be retained, as well as requiring and publishing audits on the data access. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Fei Hao. Ms. Hao?
Council members, I'm Fei Ho. I lived in Newport Hill for 20 years, and I'm here again to express my concern for the problem. I have been here quite a few times. So I live next door, who a foreign investor came in, bought the property, and especially for the trees, for example. And it's about 10 trees, and there's landmark trees. And in the permits, the trees can keep the trees. The trees is extremely important to stabilize the land with the roots, and also acting as sponges for the water. But actually how the house being built was bulldozered, and it's completely different than what is on the permits. And as a result, I'm suffering to see the water, mold in my cloud space, and I also seen the crackers on my foundations. So I've been trying very hard, working with the city, and the very least we needed to ask to submit a correction for what we have done, because the house is 64% FAR. Even the maximum allowed is 50%. The house is 64%, and it's being bulldozed completely different than what being submitted on the permits. And the house is being sold. And yesterday, I just learned the city allowed them to attach the sparkling water which means send a very strong signal. Is everything cleared? Even I'm asking to do the correction, and has nothing been done. So having said that, this is not even just one house. This is being flooded. We see in Newport Hills, and right now on my 24 houses street is about 60% foreign investor-owned houses, and with this middle housing on the way, and anxiously those investors are waiting to jump in to even larger scale than what we have right now, the single houses. Especially with the Vancouver being banned for the investment, but we suffering much more. So it is very sad for as a residents, long-time residents, and I'm asking you as a beautiful as we are for the home, we call home, and we believe you can do better. And please look into this seriously. And as we're moving forward, build more houses, people are asking for more affordable housing, more development into the neighborhood. I really would like you to look into those problems and not allow, if we keep allowing this happen, and it really damages the trust from the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Joe Kunstler, who is joining us online. Mr. Kunstler, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can. Your time begins now.
Why, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and focus on men's health issues. I also wish you had focus on mental health issues. We all know a certain individual who comes to these meetings and he hurls Nazi salutes, and right now you are violating Washington state law by allowing him to have his campaign sign in the audience. You might want to talk to your lawyer about it. Moving on about health issues. This individual, he's supposed to have a competency hearing on June 16th at 8:45 a.m. And I'll have to email you the case number because it's very, very long. But Mr. Zimmerman, getting a competency hearing should be a priority for this council, not just because of the way he treats you, because the way he treats everyone. He told an African-American chair of the King County Council to be quiet, well, I won't repeat it, but it's on King County TV. He's also Nazi saluted a Jewish American friend of mine who serves as president of the best community in the world. And I'm a little biased because I'm a big fan of hers. And it is a kind of fascistic behavior that it clearly shows clear mental health issues on par with the Islamic terrorists who firebombed Jews protesting for peace. It is something that we all should take a little more seriously. When we see red flags like this, we need to deal with it no matter what their race, faith, color, gender. We just need to say that it's not okay to feel that way and to hurl that kind of hate at anyone. And it's better mental health just to take a deep breath, exhale, just in, out, in, out, in, out, like that. And wiggle those fingers and toes. And also to exercise once in a while. Instead of driving a black Mercedes, get on the bus, take a walk. Better still get on a bike. I hear Redmond's got really great bike trails. I hear Bellevue also is working on bike infrastructure. And so too is Alex Zimmerman's favorite place to play in Kirkland. They're also working on bike infrastructure. My point, and you can also take the bike on the sexy white rail and go ride to lots of places. Really helps burn stress, but you also have to learn to be tolerant and accepting of other people, because this is America. In America, you can have people who vehemently disagree with you, and yet you get to work with them every single day. And that's why this country is a great country. And I really think that we need to be
Mr.
focusing
Kunstler, your time has expired. Thank you. Our next speaker is Nick Tunn, who I believe is also joining us online. Mr. Tunn, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Are you able to hear me?
We can. Your time begins now.
All right, thank you. Well, I'd like you, as our city representatives, to take a look at the two groups looking to influence you on the topic of middle housing here. One group is largely retired. They're very wealthy, and they're very exclusionary. They talk about neighborhood character. There was a lot of that talk yesterday, but we all know, you know it, I know it, and they know when they say it too, that this is a dog whistle. This is coded language for keeping out newcomers, renters, and anyone who doesn't mirror their privilege. Their vision of this city is one of stagnation, one that's frozen in time, free from change, and without people that don't look or earn like them. Their city is one of fear, fear of progress, disdain of diversity, and condescension towards the world outside of their neighborhoods. The other group, they're not young. They're largely around 20 to 40 years old. Nobody here is asking for handouts. No one's asking for handouts. They want to own homes here. They want to raise kids here. They want to build businesses here. They're here to contribute. These people are asking you for a chance to buy in and live in the community they serve, to have the same opportunities afforded to those before them. They believe in and are begging you for a city that grows with its people, and not to have a city that walls itself off. When they say neighborhood character, they have a vision of vibrancy rather than one of exclusion. These people are the future of our city, whether you like it or not. Time will march on. One group will fade, the other will remain, and they will remember you for your choices. You have a choice here. Do you welcome the world or do you shut it out? Is diversity our strength or do we shun it? Every time you repeat the city motto, are you a hypocrite? Is the motto a guiding principle for policy, or is it something we betray when it's inconvenient? This is a question of your personal values as you make your vote. You are making a decision. You uphold the antiquated status quo, or you have the courage to call it what it is. Selfish, short-sighted, immoral. This isn't about housing. It's whether you are complicit in segregation by class and opportunity, or whether you have values. I would like to say, history has never remembered the defenders of exclusion kindly. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have time for one additional speaker, so that would be Shada Al Nasir.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Shada Al Nasser. I'm not a resident of Bellevue, but I'm deeply invested in this city. I spent 15 years as a senior leader at Microsoft, and today I'm an investor in several local businesses and nonprofits. I come here almost daily. I shop, I meet, I connect. I deliver food from restaurants and local businesses to food banks and low-income housing through using tech. I'm here to express a strong support for the Innovation Forum framework. I see it as a smart, future-forward investment in how Bellevue builds trust, partners more effectively, and serves its evolving community. This isn't just a nice-to-have exercise, it's foundational. Bellevue is already seen as a hub of innovation, but this framework formalizes how the innovation is applied to public good by creating pathways that, for digital equity, innovation partnership, and programs like Community Idea Lab that brings residents' ideas directly into the policy process. From a private sector's lens, this framework tells me the city values collaboration, experimentation, and inclusion, things that drive long-term value for everyone, not just businesses. As someone who worked in the enterprise tech area and now invests in community ventures, I see firsthand that the biggest barrier isn't technology, it's trust, access, and a shared language. This framework bridges that, and I've seen this happen in other cities. They tap into their community through digital tools and open innovation labs. It makes the government more responsive and more credible. Bellevue has the talent, the civic pride, and now, with this framework, the architecture to lead in that space. It's a way to activate all of us, not just residents, but regional stakeholders like me, in shaping solutions that reflect Bellevue's values. This is really an exciting moment. I believe this framework offers Bellevue the structure to stay innovative, grounded, and inclusive, while strengthening partnership across the board. Thank you for your thoughtfulness behind this process and for the opportunity to contribute and support something that is truly a long-term impact. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That does bring us to the 30-minute time limit. So Deputy Mayor, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, and thank you again, everyone who engaged with us. We have a report of the city manager. Our city manager is going to share some good news.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We have one item tonight, and this is on the accreditation of services at the City of Bellevue. This presentation is being brought to you because it's an opportunity for the council and the public to hear about accreditation that we pursue and the services of the departments that are accredited within the city and what it means for both the community and also for our progress to continue being a high-performing organization. So Deputy City Manager Nathan McCommon is going to lead the presentation, and he is joined by department representatives here tonight. So with that, I'll turn it over to Nathan.
Thank you, Deputy City Manager, or thank you, City Manager Carlson. I would be the Deputy City Manager. And you don't want to give the singer the microphone, so I'll stick to the script here. It's a pleasure to speak before you today, Deputy Mayor Malakutian and the council members. Quick technology check, outstanding. So this is for information only. And I think some members of the general public may not know that the City of Bellevue has accredited services. So it's my pleasure to review for the council and the public what accreditation means here in Bellevue. But before I do that, I'd like to recognize some of the folks who are behind me. These are good people from the accredited departments that represent about 2/3 of all the employees that work for the City of Bellevue. And so I just get to be the lucky one to tell the story tonight. And this summary is really the success of their work. So why accreditation? Accreditation aligns with who Bellevue is. Bellevue, in its history, is a very intentional city. And Bellevue does not happen by accident. One of the most prominent and often repeated examples about that intentionality is Downtown Park, which began as a controversy, and it was a split vote by the council, barely passed. 40 years later, it is a preeminent defining feature of the downtown in Bellevue. And accreditation invites outside experts to look under the hood, so to speak, and puts us to the test, and that's what we want. We want to be challenged, and we need the validation. And they examine whether we are living up to our operational core values of like excellent public service, stewardship, equity, innovation, commitment to our employees, and integrity. Accreditation ensures that departmental strategic plans align with the council vision in the strategic target areas. Accreditation ensures good use of research and data. Bellevue is constantly refining its structures, policies, procedures, and practices in order to continue to offer high-quality services as a great value for the public's investment. So to become accredited or accredited can take up to a year to complete. Depending on the type of service, the accreditation is valid 4 or 5 years at a time. And during that cycle, annual progress reports are also due to accrediting agencies as a form of accountability. And I think I cannot overstate how involved that process is. Hear about the expressions on their faces. It's very involved. Having everything that you do being questioned is not exactly a joyful experience, but it makes us collectively sharper and more effective. And one of the practices that accreditors check is how we audit ourselves. And as an example, improvements have been invaluable in the police department's application of its use of force policies and how it manages internal investigations. The accreditation process also fosters collaboration across all city services, which further validates the one city approach that council often hears about. In Bellevue, accredited services are related to infrastructure and safety. The accredited departments are Fire and Emergency Services, Parks and Community Services, Police, Transportation, and Utilities. Since first being accredited, each of these departments has successfully been reaccredited. Not only does accreditation apply a rigorous examination to the primary services, but also considers the quality of the support services. And so I want to pause for a moment and highlight for the public and the council that successful reaccreditation also tests the services behind the scenes, like human resources and information technology, the financial services, legal counsel, equipment readiness, and the fleet services. Accrediting agents must observe and document good collaboration across services before authorizing reaccreditation to a single department. So let me hit a few statistics here. For fire and medical services, it's been continuously accredited since 1998, and just this spring achieved reaccreditation. And only 14% of fire departments in the nation are accredited. In transportation, 200 agencies across the United States and Canada are accredited. And our Bellevue Transportation Department is one of 12 in the state of Washington. For utilities, it was the first agency actually in the state of Washington to get APWA accreditation. And Bellevue Utilities today is one of 11 accredited agencies in the state. Less than 6% of police agencies in the country receive this designation, and Chief Shirley was here recently, got to celebrate with the council that it was reaccredited once again this year. Our Parks and Community Services Department is one of only 3 accredited agencies in the state and one of 214 in the entire country. And we just heard that the Parks Department is planned for, recommended rather, for reaccreditation this year, so we should hear some good news in a few months. So accreditation is just another way that the city of Bellevue leans in to give its best for the community. Accredited services advance the council's strategic investments and uphold the public trust. Bellevue has earned a reputation as a well-run city. I often hear that when I'm out and about, and accreditation goes a long way toward keeping that confidence high. And in doing so, we will keep offering a high standard of living that is safe and vibrant. And as we started, this is information only, but I would say I really appreciate the opportunity to celebrate the value of accreditation, and more than that, the good work of all the employees who deliver high-quality services each and every day. Thank you.
Thank you. If my council members agree, can we take a picture of this moment and we go down and shake hands and congrats them? Everyone agrees? Let's just do that. This is huge recognition of everyone excellence, professionalism, and commitment to serving our community in the highest standard. I am very, very proud of this city and the people working for Bellevue every day. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. So I think we can move to the next topic. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Move to approve the consent calendar. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
There is no oppose. We can go and jump to our study session items. The first study session is, do you want to introduce as City Manager, please?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor and council members. So our first study session, we are welcoming one of our regional partners, the King County Library System. And I'm very pleased to welcome the Executive Director of KCLS, Heidi Daniel, and the Regional Manager, David Frappier. They're here tonight to share updates with the council, including recent initiatives and programs of the library system. We are providing this for information only, and no direction is being sought. And with that, I would like to welcome Ms. Daniels and hand it over to her.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Deputy Mayor and council members, for having us this evening. Again, I'm Heidi Daniel, the Executive Director of King County Library System. I've been with the system for just over a year now. And I'm here this evening with David Frappier, who is the manager of the region that includes Bellevue, Lake Hills, Newport Way, and Crossroads. Am I missing any?
Nope.
Yep, got them all. So basically, all of our Bellevue locations. And we're here this evening just to give you some updates on the King County Library System and to talk to you about all of the ways that we work to improve the lives of Bellevue residents as well as everyone throughout the county of King County. So I got the clicker, I guess, so I can go to the next slide. So these are just some stats for you at a glance from the library system. As you can see, our communities really love us and utilize us. So we had over 22 million items checked out last year. You can see that we have a lot of digital checkouts, over 10 million. And a little fact that isn't on this slide is the fact that we are second in the country for digital checkouts. And fourth in the entire world. So we really lead in the area because King County residents are such great readers. And of course, Bellevue is always the top one or two of libraries that are checking out our materials, and we love that. We also have saved residents over $145 million in their checkouts. And we have over 676,000 active cardholders, over 361,000 program participants, and we have increased this year our open hours by 8.9%, which we continue to try to do. Also, not on this slide, is the fact that we have our total foot traffic at KCLS, which is over 5 million. And of course, Bellevue is one of our busiest locations, and I'll let David tell you more about those numbers, but we're very excited by the ways our communities continue to use us over and over again. So we want to tell you a little bit about how we celebrate our communities. We love to have literacy and lifelong learning in the forefront. The picture you see here is from our Dia de los Niños, Dia de los Libros celebration, which is a Spanish language celebration that started in Mexico. It celebrates children and books, just like it sounds like. And so we have that celebration as well as our many story times, family programs, and of course, our after-school programming, which includes our study zones, our homework help tutoring program, which features volunteer mentors. And it did see a record number of students this year, including a 49.4% increase from last year, and that's over 13,000 participants in our study zone program. So we also want to lean into the future. So one of the things that we have been considering heavily is how we will reimagine our spaces well into the future for King County. We have paid off our old bond initiative, so now our buildings are over 20 years old. So even though they look new and beautiful, they're getting to that point where we have to touch all of them again. We've done a climate resiliency study to look at how we can make our buildings climate resilient into the future. We've also looked at accessibility audits so we can make sure that all individuals can utilize our services well into the future. And then the fun piece is we are starting to think about how we can make these more usable for our communities. So for example, thinking about our children's spaces, how they can be more interactive and play-based learning, thinking about how we can have more quiet areas for individual work and study. We see so many individuals coming in and using our building for meetings online, to do conferences, to work. And of course, our Bellevue Library has our flagship Makerspace, which is amazing and beautiful and really well used. And so we're also thinking about how we can learn from that and think about that throughout the county. In Bellevue, we're also thinking about how we make the space more flexible so we can have larger events and author programs into the future. And of course, we want to lean into our early learning. We have our story times in multiple languages. And I do want to highlight today our summer reading program before I turn it over to David. This year, our theme is Curious Creatures, and David can show you the box. So when our students come, or learners come in, they will be welcomed right away with this welcome kit, where they get to fully become a reader, they get to pick out a book. There's activities in the box for them. The box will have a coupon for Red Robin so they can go get something to eat. They will have activities and then the book of their choice. And then they will come back for our finishing prizes, which will include Mariners tickets. We have a partnership with the Storm, and we have drawing prizes. And I brought a little curious creature that each library will have for one lucky winner to have a little plushy Sasquatch. So we're really leaning into the Pacific Northwest curious creature tradition. For adults, we also will have a book bingo program, which is something that Seattle has typically done with Seattle Arts and Lecture. So this year, it is going to be the entire King County, the city of Seattle, and all of our libraries as well in the county. And that's for all of the adults. You can get a bingo and a chance to win tickets for Seattle Arts and Lecture. So now I'll turn it over to David, who will tell you a little bit more about Bellevue Library specifically.
Thank you, Heidi. Building on the theme of summer reading, I just wanted to start by highlighting that the City of Bellevue will be having 2 launch events, given the size of our community. We'll have one at the Newport Wade Library on June 21st from 3 to 6 p.m., and the other on June 28th at the Lake Hills Library from 12 p.m. until 5 p.m. So it'll be the great opportunity for families, kids and teens to come and get their Curious Creatures box and really get oriented to the program. We'll have food and live music at the Newport Way one, I know, so it's going to be quite the endeavor. So leaning into some of the data that Heidi mentioned, of the 1.5 million physical checkouts, or 11.5 million physical checkouts, excuse me, that Heidi mentioned, as she said, Bellevue is really one of the leading cities in this initiative in terms of use. Of those 11.5 million, 1.5 actually came from the City of Bellevue residents. Similarly, of the 10.9 million digital checkouts, 1.2 came from city residents. In terms of visitation, we saw last year 857,262 members of the community come through our doors in order to use the myriad number of resources that we provide to the community. And we also issued 10,028 new library cards to the fresh faces in our community, bringing them into a lifelong of learning. I feel like this shows really what the true passion our residents have for reading and learning, as well as the importance that our community places on the library as a third space, a place where they can come and they know that their intellectual freedom is going to be protected for years to come. Our libraries here in Bellevue are vibrant and evolving spaces which truly change based on the needs of the community, whether that's taking community feedback into account when buying new technology for our flagship Makerspace, or whether that means co-designing programs with members of our community to ensure that they're really seen and heard within our work. On the nature of programming, I just wanted to transition into looking a little bit more about things from a programmatic standpoint. So if we look towards the last year, still leaning into the data side of things, we had 22,177 attendees of programs here in the city of Bellevue. These were everything from, as Heidi said, our fantastic story times led by a really, truly amazing children's team, to our English language learning services, as well as our basic tech education courses. And while I could spend all evening singing the praises of my librarians and the work they do, I thought I would highlight 3 different initiatives that I really feel capture the service that KCLS provides to the city of Bellevue. The first, as you can see, is our Emerging Radiance project. This was a true partnership between the city of Bellevue and KCLS, which brought the work that you can see, a small farmhouse that has a interactive component, to the Bellevue Library. This work, designed by Michelle Kumada and Tanya Keda, really captures the story of Japanese American residents here in the city of Bellevue and engages the community in a dialogue. And I think that truly reflects the city and the library's partnership when it comes to centering this story at this time in our city's history. As just a side note, I'd love to just take a quick moment to give a shout out to our amazing colleagues, Lori Hoffman, Scott McDonald, and Janelle Wetstein from the city, who really led the effort in helping to bring this to the Bellevue Library. I can say that our launch event on the Day of Remembrance of Japanese Incarceration back in February saw approximately 200 residents attend and engage in both dialogues and discussions about the events of Japanese incarceration, but also responded to a call to action to really look towards ensuring that these lessons are learned by our community and we don't see a repeat of these tragic periods of our history. As Heidi mentioned, we have our amazing memory lab, so I'd love to transition to that. The Memory Lab project is a sub-project of our Makerspace team. So the Memory Lab was something that we're launching as a partnership with the Mellon Foundation, who generously gave us a grant to collect the stories of our community. And so this lab has 2 functions. Number 1, we're attempting to continue to collect the stories of Japanese American residents who endured incarceration during World War II. And we are also attempting to capture the story of more recent immigrants to our country and to King County as a whole. And what's really remarkable about this project is it is a true partnership between the 2 makerspaces here in King County, one in Bellevue, one in the other one in Federal Way. And as we're on the theme of Makerspace, really wanted to just give a quick shout out to my amazing intrepid team of 3 who really bring some of the best programming that I see in the system to our Bellevue residents. 2 particular initiatives I really wanted to highlight that really give a great example of the work that they do and the impact they make are our 3D printing replacement parks project, which was a partnership between the city's Greener Living classes and the King County Library System, wherein residents were able to come in and learn how to use our array of 3D printers. We have about 5 to 6 of them, and learn how they could actually manufacture pieces to repair objects in their home every day, which provided guidance on what materials to use, how to do it. It was quite amazing. Given the theme of the month, I also wanted to highlight our amazing gender-affirming clothing alteration programs. This is a series we've been running for quite a few months now. And it really provides an opportunity for residents of the city to come in and learn some basic alterations, sewing, mending skills necessary to adjust their clothing to match how they wish to express themselves and match their gender identity. And it's really, truly a remarkable initiative that reflects my team's commitment to ensuring that this is truly a community of belonging, that everyone really feels welcome here in the city, no matter their identity. They have a place here in King County Library System. So I'd like to close out by just highlighting what to look forward to over the next year, the rest of this year. First of all, I didn't know if you know this, but we've actually had libraries for 100 years here in the city of Bellevue. So we will be hosting a community celebration later this year to remark upon that fact. From humble beginnings down on Main Street, in Parish's Cafe in the back room from 1925 to now having 4 libraries across the system. It's really a remarkable opportunity to just come together and reflect on where do we go from here. Secondly, I'd love to just highlight the fact that on the 24th, in a couple weeks, you'll have a more in-depth presentation from my colleagues in the district court. But I wanted to just give a shout out to the fact that Bellevue Library is now going to be playing host to community court in the coming months. This amazing opportunity really provides the community with a resource that is really cannot be emphasized enough. And the fact that King County Library System can play just a small part as being the site host is really remarkable. So I look forward to seeing you all again on the 24th, so you'll hear more from the court. And then finally, I just wanted to give a shout out to one final program that we're doing throughout the rest of the year that I really encourage everyone in the city to participate in. And that is our One Bellevue, One Book program. So this is an encouragement to all of the city to join us in a dialogue and invitation to read We Hereby Refuse, Japanese American Resistance to Wartime Incarceration by Frank Abe, Tomiko Nimura, Ross Ishikawa, and Matt Sasaki. This graphic novel is a true encapsulation of the experience of resistance during World War II and the years to follow. And this series is a combination of passive programming and active programming, really designed to bring the community together to continue that dialogue that really kind of started earlier this year with the installation of Emerging Radiance here at Bellevue. So these programs will run through February. They'll involve author talks. They'll involve the Comics Festival in the Makerspace. So it's a great opportunity for the community to really come together. So with that, we'd love to thank you for giving us the time to just speak to you a little bit about what we do here in King County and in the city of Bellevue, and open up the floor to some questions.
Thank you so much, and a warm welcome to both of you, Executive Director Daniel and Regional Manager Frappier. And I also want to thank the whole team of King County Library System for amazing investment in Bellevue. You are helping Bellevue's learning infrastructure, community connection, and equitable access to knowledge, so we appreciate that. I would love to start with Councilmember Hamilton as a former library advisory board.
Yes, great. Thank you, welcome. Appreciate the presentation, really appreciate you being here, and certainly appreciate the relationship that KCLS has with the city of Bellevue, and I think Mr. Frappier has been an excellent partner for us. I think the three things that you highlighted are exactly the three things that I wanted to mention, so I'll be even more brief. Emerging Radiance, I was thrilled to be there on opening night, agree that it's a wonderful collaboration with KCLS and the city, and telling the stories of Bellevue residents before, during, and after World War II. Very powerful. The Memory Lab, I think, is such an exciting project. Again, talking about Bellevue residents and the era of World War II, preserving their stories, really impactful. Appreciate that. And then I'm thrilled about the community court that's coming to Bellevue and is going to be housed at the library. We've seen a lot of positive benefits from community courts in reducing jail time, recidivism, and crime. And community courts focused on providing a firm, supportive path for folks who need structure and resources to get their lives back on track. The library seems like a perfect place for that. And Ms. Daniel, great to see you. I know when Emerging Radiance was opening, that you said libraries are about opening doors to insight, inspiration, and learning. I certainly agree with that. And the three examples that you mentioned, Mr. Frappier, Emerging Radiance, the Memory Lab, and Community Court, I think are great examples of that commitment.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to sound greedy. I do think KCLS gives us a lot, but I would like to ask if we could have some discussion around allowing community members to access your wonderful parking garage when KCLS does not have a strong demand for it. I think that being able to make use of it could also open doors to insight, inspiration, and learning at Ashwood Park and Kids Quest. I know it's a touchy subject, but I did want to mention it. I'd love to talk more if possible. Again, appreciate you being here, appreciate the collaboration, and look forward to continuing to work together.
It's not the first time the issue of parking has come up in the year that I've been here, so I'm not surprised. And yes, we're happy to explore and discuss what that might look like.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Hamilton. Councilmember Lee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a long relationship between the City of Bellevue and the library, King County Library. So thank you for being here, especially Daniel, you know that you are new to this region. But as you know, library is one of the very important resource for Bellevue and for the region as well. Bellevue is Bellevue because people coming to live here very much value education. That means knowledge, education, information, how to advance, how to and be enriched in their life experience. So as a result of that, I think we have a very enlightened community. And this is the proof of what Bellevue has become over the last, you mentioned 100 years. Bellevue hasn't been around 100 years. I think we just celebrated the 70-something, 5th anniversary as a city. But the relationship, the people, we have a long history. And I'm glad that you're also celebrating the history with the Japanese Americans. You know, we were very rich. Our first sister city between Bellevue and the international sister city is starting with Japan. And so I think we are very enriched, very lucky. And I remember Mr. Frappier, when he first came, I was the liaison to the King County Library System. So we appreciate your work that you have done since you were here in this area. So you have already mentioned how much wonderful thing that you have accomplished. And we're still going through transition, obviously. But everybody recognizes the one and major importance is that we are all part of the community. We will be nothing unless the people value that the library provides through learning, through a place you mentioned about another place or the third place, whatever. People actually can gather. People can exchange, access information, and be able to grow from that. And so one thing that's why I was just emphasize, I appreciate what you do. The volunteers are very important. Every time I go there, I appreciate the volunteers. The volunteers who sell books, and they're your great ambassador, are the people who are selling your books. People go there and people work there as full-time employee or almost. Their pride in sharing their knowledge and with the public. So thank you. That's why I mentioned that we hope to have more opportunity, more ways how we can make better connections. As the city grows, the city needs more space. As the city becomes more multicultural, right? They need to have a place to connect. And the most commonality is learning. So thank you. And we hope to emphasize on that and hope that other cultures also tell their story, because we need to learn stories from others so that we can become richer, we can become more knowledgeable, we can become a better world together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Lee. Councilmember Sumadeveria.
Thank you for everything you're doing, but my comment is very personal because one of my kids actually, because of health issues, he couldn't play any sports till he was 12. So that little reader's guide every summer is being like a saving grace for him because he couldn't play sports. So every summer out of school, we don't know what to do. So I would tell him there's a Chinese saying, there is golden palace inside a book. Probably Conrad knows that. But right, and then so it means there's always a golden palace in the book. It's a treasure we can find in there. Every summer we would be really looking forward to little piece, and we would follow through. And end of the summer we can get a prize. So thank you for making to the adult version, so I can be participating in that. Thank you for doing that. So I think for books, it's definitely just not books. We know that a lot of children, they don't have access to a lot of things that could be easy access to some families. So book could be life-saving, and then it teaches lots of things. For my 12-year-old, his favorite book is Art of War because of those sheets we're learning. One comment I want to say is because we're such a diverse city, and when we went to Bellevue Library, there's so many languages of different language books in there. It was like the world just on like our fingertip, right? How many language of books do we feature in the library?
Oh, that's a great question. David, do you know how many you have at Bellevue?
So we have 23 currently at Bellevue, which represents, I think, 95% of the total languages we collect here at King County, and we're not stopping there. We're constantly trying to get access to different supply chains so that we can actually bring more languages to represent, or that represent the community, the diverse community here in King County as a whole.
Yeah, we are looking at expanding our world languages collection on a regular basis and also expanding access to the world languages collection through some modifications to our catalog. So it's easier for speakers to find, or different language speakers to find materials in their native languages. So we are always looking to expand that. Sometimes it is difficult, as David kind of alluded to work with publishers. When we were trying to get some Ukrainian materials, for example, we had issues because the publisher was actually located in Russia, and so we had to have some weird issues with the supply chain. So it can be a little bit difficult, but it certainly is something we're continuing to work towards and to expand those languages to reflect all of the diverse speakers in King County.
Thank you for doing that. And that's like how why every resident, they come here, they feel like it's home. So it's
Yeah.
so important. Thank you.
That's our goal.
And I have one last question is, so the ratio between the digital book and physical book, it's like very equal. And as my understanding, digital book is more expensive,
Yeah,
right?
that's correct.
How are you doing with the funding to cope with that?
Yeah, so it is a continual challenge. One of the things I can hear in every community while I'm out speaking or listening is that people have concerns about how long it takes for them to get their holds, especially their digital holds. The digital holds or the digital books are significantly more expensive, sometimes 2 to 3 times more expensive than a physical item. And publishers don't actually sell them to us, they lease them, which is why you use Libby. That's the vendor we work with for the leased collection that we have of the ebooks. And it is increasingly harder for us to maintain that balance between physical and digital. And King County Library System is unique in libraries because our physical circulation isn't actually decreasing. It's still continuing to maintain at a high level, if not go up a little bit. So what we have is just a community of really voracious readers. But it's going to be a big tension point for us moving forward in terms of how we continue to pay for both of collections and maintain the hold ratios. Right now, we have one of the most generous holds. You can put up to 25 holds in ebooks, and most library systems limit you to 10. And so we may have to think about whether or not we have to put some limitations on the number of holds that can be placed, just to keep those ratios down and to keep, we're triggered by how many holds are on in a book. That's when we decide to go in and purchase more copies. And of course, with the ebooks, publishers don't treat them like, oh, here's an ebook, everyone can access it. It's treated just the same as a physical book. You purchase it, it circs 25, 30 times, and then the publisher makes us release it. So we have to re-buy them just like they were a physical item, even though they're not seeing wear and tear. So it is an issue that's going to be pressing into the future, how we maintain the collection and meet the demand. It's a supply and demand issue for us, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Councilmember. Councilmember Bargava.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And thank you both for the incredible presentation and just the incredible partnership with KCLF with Bellevue. You shared some statistics at the beginning, and I can say with some level of confidence that not 2024, but in prior years, my household and my 2 kids account for a significant portion of those because we have been really blessed and really utilized that system through the years that they've grown up, and we continue to do that now as well.
Love that.
I also think I really appreciate some of the comments already have been made. So the initiatives you shared are really fantastic. I think one that I wanted to learn a little bit more about is the community court. Is Bellevue one of the cities that's doing this in our region as one of the early adopters, or is this something that Bellevue is late to come to?
Well, this is the second location that King County has partnered with a city to host the community part. The other location is our Redmond location. So the city of Redmond and the Redmond Library have the partnership to have the community court there. So you're only our second partner to host the community court inside our library.
That's great. I don't know much about what Redmond has done there, and so how long has Redmond already been doing this?
Since, I believe it was 2018 when court started. So it's actually not been running too long in the county as a whole. So I would characterize Bellevue as still being in the leading edge. We're still one of the early adopters. And as I said, I'm confident the court will be able to speak volumes when they come back on the 24th, and we'll be able to walk y'all through the intricate details of what they're doing. It really does make a big impact. I just had a meeting the other day with our colleagues over in Redmond to just discuss community court, and the joy they have about the graduates of the program that actually are able to go back, are released from court obligations because they've been able to meet their commitments to the court and to the community. It's really rewarding to see what a radical change in their life it makes. So I'm really excited for it to come to Bellevue because I feel like it's equally going to have that level of impact.
Got it, great. Because that was going to be my next question: is what are the learnings from what you've got in Redmond for the last 7 years? But it seems anything else to add? But
I would say like there's a pretty high success rate for the program across the county. I believe there's a total of 5 locations in total that do this. But we're ever closely moving towards libraries as hosts. That's certainly something the court is really interested in because libraries, as I mentioned, as Councilmember Lee mentioned, as this library's being a third place, it's considered a safe location that doesn't have the trauma and stigma of going to the court or some of the fears sometimes that some residents feel about coming to even locations like City Hall. A lot of the conversations we've had around, the success of Mini City Hall is, how accessible it is to the community. And I think the library really reflects that as a site location.
that's awesome. And the only other question, not really a question, a comment really triggered by Councilmember Sumedhavera's comment is this process of leased books being digital books being leased at the same cost, and then the same requirements of when the marginal cost is really zero is kind of surprising. And I wonder if that system is up for sort of some overhaul. It's not really a question. It's more just a comment and surprise on how that system works, because it feels like it's,
It's unfair. This is an issue that libraries have been working on nationally. I sit on a couple of national boards, and it's one of the issues that we are constantly trying to tackle. And our relationship with publishers and Overdrive has actually improved over the years. And so we're hopeful that we'll get to a more sustainable model for public libraries. And we're constantly reminding, too, the publishers that these are taxpayer dollars that are being invested in this. And so there is some responsibility there. And we're hopeful that we'll be able to get to some copies that we can own into perpetuity, just like we would our physical collection. We're hopeful that we can get to a more reasonable pricing model so that we can be more sustainable into the future for our communities and continue to provide these ebooks. And we know it's going to continue to grow. We'll see probably within the next 5 years that our ebooks will outpace our physical. But we do also try to do things like encourage people who are on a long hold list for a digital item to see if they could get it faster through a physical copy, and to try to keep that balance there. But certainly the advocacy on a national level and with publishers is something that the industry as a whole is continually looking at, because we share that concern.
Great. Yeah, and thank you again for the incredible work.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilman Bargava. Councilman Nieuwenhuis.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, David and Heidi, for being here tonight. Appreciate the update, as my colleagues have already expressed, and I'll be short, but great presentation, especially on the metrics here. And that's one question I did have on the metrics is terms of because these seem impressive, but I'd like to understand, like the active cardholders, for example. So well over 600,000 currently, or in 2024. What was that like in 2020, for example? So what kind of growth are we seeing there in the cardholders, but also in the participants?
Yeah, so it's a great question. We obviously in 2019 saw much higher numbers than in 2020. We saw the King County, had the same impact of COVID as everyone else, and then they've been steadily increasing since then. A note about the active cardholders is that metric is just cardholders who have actively utilized us within the last 2 years. So if you have a card but haven't checked something out in the last 2 years, you're not part of that number, but you're still a cardholder and you're still really important. I just like to look at things like active cardholders and market penetration because it gives me a better idea of how we're doing in terms of active usage, not just resting on the laurels of the fact that you got your library card 10 years ago and haven't been back since, right? So it also gives us ways to engage with the community to say, hey, we haven't seen you in a while, come back in. In fact, we're changing that metric to be for active to be defined within the last year. And again, we're looking more closely at overall market penetration, so the number of households with cards, because we also recognize that, for example, I'm a mom, I have 2 teenagers and an elderly parent that live with me, and everyone in my house uses my card. So I'm one card holder, but I've got 5 people using that card. So sometimes thinking about how many households are actively utilizing us at any moment in time is a little bit better metric than just
I was going to say, because our family's at the Lake Hills location almost every
Yeah.
weekend, and it always goes all on my wife's card.
Yeah,
Most of the
exactly.
time.
Exactly.
So that would be interesting going forward to see what that data looks like, but
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would love also maybe to consider, especially hearing about the programming going on at the libraries. It'd be great if we could further extend that partnership with the city in parallel with some of the things that we are constantly working towards, recognizing things, anything from Black History Month to Jewish Heritage Month to Juneteenth. It just seems like it's a natural partnership to be working with Dr. Linda Whitehead, our Director of DEI, and then promoting books that kids and parents alike can be checking out and reading to learn more about versus just come and spend 15, 30 minutes at light, which is great, but we really want to encourage them to dive deeper into these topics as well. So it would really be great if we could look at further expanding that programming in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a number of heritage months that we celebrate. We always put out the book list, but I'm sure David and his team, who I have to say, I love all of our libraries. You have a really great team here at Bellevue and an exceptional regional manager. They're all exceptional, but David's pretty great. So I'm sure that he's very interested in looking at how all of those partnerships would play out. And I will say also, we're really excited about the new park and the plans that are happening for our neighbors right there and how we can help activate that with programs and services as well. So we're always looking for ways that we can support the city.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Sorry.
Yeah,
Dave,
we
you
are
wanna say-
we
Go
are
ahead.
very interested in continuing that and deepening that relationship. I think that's been a hallmark of our work since coming out of the pandemic, and it's definitely the direction we'd love to work with the city more on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ivo.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Newhouse. Great conversation. I appreciate all of my council members. I also wanted to follow my council members with personal story. My mom loves libraries, and she visited 3 of them. And unfortunately, the Bellevue Library is the least favorite. And the reason is too big. She likes Redmond and Renton more.
Oh, okay.
So I have been talking to her to change her mind. I'm continue working on that. If you make that as a gift for adult, I'm sure she would.
She would come
Yes,
in?
she
Okay.
would change
For
her
us to know.
mind.
Me too, actually.
Yes.
It's very soft and great price.
I have maybe 3 questions. Since the Bellevue Advisory Board sunset, have we done any kind of formalized feedback loop through surveys, listening session, that how is our community reacting to that? Has there anyone noticed anything that you found about closing the advisory board?
I would say we haven't organized a formal survey yet, but that's certainly something we consider. I think absolutely leaning into a community listening session or an open house is definitely something that I could work with my team on and coordinate with the city. I can say, just speaking towards our normal feedback metrics, so we do, as I mentioned when we came here and discussed the sun-sitting on the board, KCLS has a number of different tools we use to collect different pieces of community feedback, but perhaps our most important in some ways, because it's such valuable qualitative data, is our comment cards. So these are things that myself, my team, Heidi, and her team see every single day. I can say we haven't seen necessarily a particular uptick in that particular issue. I can't remember any particular reference off the top of my head. I'd have to look back through our records, though. But I think that's a great suggestion to kind of circle back and really touch base with the community and see how they're doing. Close the loop, as we're, yeah.
Thank you so much. We talk about metric. You had a great slide. Do you have, and again, you just can send it to me later, do you have the same slide just for Bellevue's library?
Yeah, and you should have it. Also, we have this handout that we brought with us, so that has a lot of Bellevue-specific metrics on it.
So if I just add all of those together, it would be Bellevue's total numbers.
Correct.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. I can manage that. Great. My last question is, in the agenda memo, there was something about the levy lifts. Are you anticipated any impacts at operation level or service level if a levy lift is not approved in the coming years? And what is your thought on that?
Yeah, so it's been over 15 years at this point since KCLS has had a ballot measure, and so we are getting to that point where our board will be looking at that. And it definitely would have an impact if we don't have, if it does not pass. We would have to consider services. If it does pass, we have looking at expanding hours, being more consistent, mornings open. We're looking at the possibility of, the spaces, the Reimagining Spaces project, being able to really move forward on some of those climate action items and making our buildings more accessible. And also balancing our collection, so that'll be really important to our collection. Without a levy lid lift, we would definitely be looking at pulling back. Materials get more expensive every year, and so we would be looking at scaling back on what we can afford in terms of our collection, as well as considering hours and services at our locations. It's just the 1% cap, like everyone, we see our expenses surpassing what we are bringing in revenue. And so for this year will be last year we were able to do a balanced budget, but this coming year we are operating in a deficit budget. And next year I think we would be looking at close to 17 million deficit budget with no changes to our services. So.
Thank you so much. Again, thank you, and we appreciate you. Thank you for coming here and giving us this presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So I think it's time for a break. It's 7:37. Let's just have 10 minutes break. I think we are ready. We have another item on the agenda. City Manager, I love the name, Inclusive Innovation Forum.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and council members. So our second study session is focusing on the work of the Innovation Forum. And we have our Innovation Forum team leaders here tonight. They're going to provide an update on the work, and they will also introduce a draft innovation resolution for council to consider. From the IT department, I'd like to welcome our Chief Innovation/Information Officer, Sabra Schneider, and Assistant Director, PJ Rodriguez. And with that, I will hand it over to Sabra.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Deputy Mayor, council members. We are very excited to be back before you tonight to talk about the Innovation Forum. We were last here in early February, and at that time we were a month away from officially launching the forum. We have since launched, so we are excited to be here tonight to talk to you more about what the forum has done and introduce a resolution for your consideration. Tonight we are seeking direction on the resolution that we are introducing and look forward to getting your input on that. Our agenda for this section of the council meeting is first to provide some background on the Inclusive Innovation Forum, kind of how did we get to today, talk about what the community and sub-teams have provided as priorities and action items, address the resolution that the community helped us develop and think about, and then talk about next steps for the Innovation Forum. So as you all know and heard from some speakers earlier on in your council meeting, innovation is critical to our DNA in Bellevue and is a huge part of your council vision. When we first started thinking about the Inclusive Innovation Forum, we wanted to talk to the public about how we could drive more innovation both across the city services that we provide and in partnership to and with the community to enhance innovation in the city. Some of you may remember in September of last year, we started with some informal brainstorms with thought partners inside and outside the city about what this could and should be. We took data from those informal brainstorms and held a survey that was open for about 2 months to the public. And we did very deliberate stakeholder interviews with about 20 members representing business, startups, nonprofits, education, small business, large business, and residents. We took all of that information to a preview event, we called it, in City Hall in November, where we brought together those stakeholders and members of the public to give us input on an initial vision. We got that input and brought it back to you all in a study session in early February of this year. And a month after that, we launched the first forum. So tomorrow night, we will have the second official forum, and tonight we are back before you to talk about what we've done in the past few months. This work is very much grounded in partnership. You heard that a little bit with some of the speakers during public comment this morning. We're working very closely to try to make sure residents and academia, small business, nonprofits, corporations, startups, and investors are all reflected in the folks who regularly attend and advise us in the forum. That group of people and all the outreach work that we did in the fall led us to 3 large priorities. One of those is digital inclusion and access, to try to make sure that all of our stakeholders and residents in Bellevue can take advantage of the digital ecosystem as much as they want to. Community input is critically important. We wanted to make sure that residents are at the table with us thinking about these innovations and what should go forward and advising us on things like policy and priority. And then last but certainly not least, this work is grounded in partnership. That's with the private sector that we're so fortunate to have here, public sector, nonprofits. We really want to make sure that innovation works for everyone, as Deputy City Manager Joseph Todd often says. The sub-team priorities that we talked about, those 3 sub-teams have been meeting outside of the Innovation Forum to put together short and long-term goals and work plans that align to those goals, as well as a question that the Deputy Mayor asked us the last time we were here, which is what kind of performance indicators will we have around this work. So the teams have been thinking about that and putting some of that work into play. Tomorrow night, we will share it in more detail at the forum, and we will preview some of that with you now. So on the digital equity front, the sub-team for digital equity is working to baseline information on needs and data. There's a lot of data about digital equity needs in the region, so the team is very much wanting to make sure that the work that we do in digital equity is aligned to the need here in the community. That work might look like free technology support. It might look like partnering with other folks, including King County Libraries, to have free basics classes so that people who don't know much can get a start. It might look like access to technology. So for people who may not be able to afford to buy a laptop or a tablet or a phone, helping them get access to low-cost tech. And then last but not least, continuing Bellevue's tradition of free and low-cost connectivity. We have put free public Wi-Fi into several affordable housing units already. We would like to figure out creative ways of doing more of that in and around the community. And as always, training and education partnerships for job readiness. We're fortunate to have a number of community volunteers who come and are run nonprofits doing that work. So how can we shine a light on it, make sure the folks are getting internship placements and opportunities through the forum? The second committee actually has work here before you tonight, and that's the team that is augmenting policies and priorities. Their first priority was to draft innovation framework to make it easier to test and grow innovative ideas with the city, and to ensure that there's a pathway to do that easily. So the framework that's before you tonight, the team that is augmenting policies and priorities work to help draft and refine it in partnership with Bellevue staff and the legal department. It also is seeking to make sure that the innovation that we do as a city is grounded in equitable technology. So thinking about how do we make sure it's accessible to everyone, and do we have the right policies to support it? So whether that might be a privacy policy, an AI policy, enhanced smart city policies that this council looked at, I think around 8 years ago now. This team is thinking about all of those things that need to be in place as we continue to drive innovative technology. The third committee is Thriving Innovation Ecosystems, and this team is trying to act as a connector for a lot of the work that the other two teams are doing that's foundational, making sure we're enhancing Bellevue's ability to test innovative ideas. We are thinking about the possibility of a neutral physical space where a lot of these innovation teams could come together and try things and learn and grow. We are partnering with education institutes to support student learning and see how their students could support some of the small business needs in Bellevue. And then last but not least, we're trying to create pathways for startups, especially startups that are working on civic tech, to be able to partner more closely with the city. PJ Rodriguez is here with me tonight to talk about the draft resolution that is before you. Thank you, PJ.
Thank you. Good evening, Deputy Mayor and council members. Bellevue, we're excited to bring to you that augment policy and prioritization team is excited to bring to you today a draft resolution. Bellevue has a long history of innovative partnerships, like Vision Zero, for example, with transportation. This resolution builds off those effective past and current partnerships, like in development services, transportation, IT. And this resolution seeks to create a framework that would enable more of those partnerships to happen in the future. This draft resolution and accompanying policy supports the Innovation Forum and prioritizes ideas that advance the council's vision. It establishes a framework for this innovative partnerships, encouraging the community to seek those partnerships. It makes it easier to test those innovative ideas with new technologies, especially with our startup community as an example. It also helps evolve city services by providing pathways to make those ideas easy to pilot. This resolution establishes a set of the following goals and principles. Building a culture of innovation, making it an inherent part of how we operate, making sure our focus on how to continually improve city services through these partnerships, while ensuring we are engaging with the community. Some of these types of design partnerships could include piloting an existing solution out there to improve any of the services that we provide already to the public, or it could include partnership that demonstrates an improvement of a service by sharing a business process with, with a startup, for example, that can be improved, such as permit processing. Or it could be a mutual development partnership that has a defined contribution towards economic development of the city. This framework ensures that the partnerships are focused and aligned with city priorities. Is it feasible? Can it scale if needed, if the partnership is extremely successful? What is the benefit to the community at large? We have to ask those questions. And then, of course, do we have the capacity to work on those endeavors? In addition, the policy establishes what the process could look like for selection. We want to also make sure that we provide performance metrics for measurement. We need to understand what our target is so we can define how we measure success at the end of the partnership. I will turn it back to Sabra to see what's next.
Thank you. I just want to add to PJ's remarks, the proposed resolution doesn't force us into any partnership. It allows us to more easily create them where all of those metrics and criteria are met. And that's a really important distinction, I think. So as I mentioned before, the next Inclusive Innovation Forum is tomorrow night from 6 to 8 here in City Hall. We will first have a keynote from Nadia Hansen, who is a global executive working on AI in the public sector across the world. And she will talk a bit about some of the things that she's seeing in cities that are really driving innovation. Then we'll talk about the projects from the 3 sub-teams and what their priorities and goals are. Then we will officially announce a Civic Innovation Challenge that I'm excited for the city to do and to lean more into some of the partnerships that we've done opportunistically in the past. Also coming up, we are starting to put form around a Civic Innovation Day in the fall. So more to come on that, but we're hoping to bring together more local governments than just Bellevue, private sector and community to talk about how we can all thrive leveraging more innovation in city government services. So more to come as that takes shape. We are seeking direction from you tonight about the proposed resolution and framework. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sabra, PJ, the whole team, Joseph, Todd, thank you so much. This is, you're bringing forward a thoughtful vision, but you have community-first approach. So that's really, really amazing. And the slide 6 that you had all of those stakeholders, I think that's so much work goes through that, and I think we all need to appreciate that. I wanted to start with Councilmember Lee. Are you going to first attend tomorrow event, sir?
Yes, I will.
Great seeing. I'm going to see you there.
Thank you.
You have the floor, sir.
Oh, thank you. This is a great innovation. What else can you say? Cities and governments normally, and elected officials, are not the most innovative, entities, because we want to do the proven things. We cannot take a lot of risk. We have to be prudent because we are working with people's money, resources, working in an area where we don't know for sure. It's still unknown. But I think it's important, however. Well, it's no different than any corporation in a way. In order to survive, in business, they have to do things they know they can sell, make money. But you cannot survive, however, in the world if you do not have creativity, innovation somewhere. So it's just a matter of how do you do it, right? You do it discreetly or with the wisdom, knowledge, and prudence. I think it's important. And I think the city need to also take some risk in the sense, but we need to take very limited risk that we know we can manage, risk we can mitigate together with other people, private sector, individuals, people that, that has proven that are willing to share the risk with us. I think that's important. But that's how we can improve. That's how we can advance. That's how we can keep up with the world. The world is moving so much faster than we are, if we don't innovate, if we stand still. So I think I really support this. I definitely think that's important we do keep up. But more than that, people now looking toward the government as a facilitator, as a catalyst. So I think that's the role we can play as well. So I think we can take risk, but at the same time can provide prudence, provide safety, provide the encouragement, and help share some of the risk. Because I think the reward is going to be immense and it's necessary to be competitive. So I definitely support the concept. So I thank you for working on this. I'm sure that, thank you for already working with some private sector that can give you assurance. The question I have for you is, this is so broad. As I mentioned, we are the council members. We're no expert in this. We can tell you what to do, tell you what to do, but we don't have all the detail and expertise. We don't know the details, which one is the best one, which one makes sense, what's the timing, what is mature, what is right, what risk can we take. So it's very difficult to understand. You say, well, let's just be creative, innovative. What are we betting? We're betting on the whole house on it? No. So I would like to see more defined, more refined, more specific things you're working on. I always said that proof is in the pudding, right? So things we don't know, we got to really do the right thing, test it, be prudent, be smart about it, working with the right people, the right partner. And so I would like to see that we council members are involved, because ultimately we have to be the final approval. So we got to put our neck on the line. But we cannot make those decisions unless we have some knowledge, involvement. We ask the right questions. So I would like to make sure that when we move forward, because this is highly important, but at the same time highly sensitive and highly unknown area that we're working with. So we don't want to play with the public's money, get it spent, and we don't see any result. I would like to see making sure we do it very prudently, working with the right party. And we've already heard some people. We have partners already on board. I know we have. But I'd like to have us to help you, because I hope that we have some of those ability to ask the right questions on behalf of the city, on behalf of the public who are spending the money to make those decisions that have some risk. But we're looking for the big benefit, big reward. So I'd be very supportive of this, but at the same time, I would like to be watching and working with you very closely. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lee. Councilmember Bargava.
Thank you for the presentation, Sabra and PJ. This is great. All in for innovation. I think this is a incredible opportunity and incredible sort of initiative on your part. So I really appreciate where you're going, and I love sort of the framework. Let me start by saying I'm supportive. But then a few thoughts. One, just some comments that I was going through your presentation as well. I love the breadth of the stakeholder coverage that you have and the organizations and the groups that you are working with. I think that's really important. Second, I think one of the things that really resonates very strongly with me is the concept of digital equity. And I think that sort of is really fundamental to where we are right now. And we need to make sure that is part of all the thinking and innovation we do as a foundation on ensuring digital equity continues to grow and persist. Because In today's time, equity, if you look at sort of in a shallow way, it can mean lots of different things. But not having access to simple things like the internet or devices can hamstring where you are and where you're going in a very significant way. And so that, I think, becomes the foundation. It's access. You also talked about another thing for digital equity, which is digital literacy, which really resonates. So enabling people, not just providing access, but also enabling. I think that is a really, really important thing that resonates. These are just positive comments on the great work you're doing. And I love the fact that we can think about the social impact, which is the other suggestion I have is, as you think about your metrics for what is going to be, and I wasn't here for the session where the conversation happened about how do you measure success, but I think social impact metrics become really important for us to consider when we think about how successful this program is. Happy to also spend time sort of offline to think about those metrics and storyboard and sort of figure out how we can think about that. The other thing, a few other things come to mind for me. I love the focus on partnerships and the framework for partnerships you've established. Very supportive, and I think that's a really good way to think about what you're doing. Two questions. One is, do we have clear open data policies in the city? Do we have well-established open data policies? And I don't know the answer, and I should, but to what extent and how we govern that would be something interesting for me to learn more about. And the second thing is, you talked about feasibility being one of the yardsticks for how you will think about innovation within the forum. Great, very important, and I think Councilmember Lee talked about this as well in his remarks. Feasibility and innovation can sometimes work at odds. Like there's a process that I've early internalized. If you're not failing enough, you're not really experimenting enough, is how I think about this. And so the question for me is, how would you think about experimentation and failure in your framework? And I've got a few suggestions, but I'd love your thoughts first.
Sure, thank you so much. So we established open data policies when we launched the Bellevue's Open Data Portal around, I think, 7-8 years ago. It was right around the same time we adopted the first Smart City Plan for Bellevue. One of the things that the Subcommittee on Policies and Prioritization probably should look at in light of where we are now 8 years later is taking a look at that policy again and advising us of kind of does it suit the needs that we have now for data, because I think it probably could use an update. So very much appreciate that call out. We absolutely have thought about the fact that some of these projects will not be successful. And we're probably, to your point, not innovating enough if they all are successful. However, we do want to make sure that they are in alignment with the council and city priorities, that we're innovating for a purpose, not just innovating to innovate. We also want to make sure that it's feasible for staff to support the partnership, whatever that may look like. Transportation has a long history of doing that really great with their Vision Zero work and partnering with a number of private sector partners and their staff to do that. There may be places we want to innovate where we're not staffed to do it yet. And in order to enter into a partnership, it has to, our work has to be present too. So there's things like that we wanted to consider with feasibility, but would love to talk with you more about what you're thinking about baking that kind of fail fast into the framework, because I think that's terrific feedback.
Yeah. I have one other comment, or I can come back if you want.
No, please go ahead.
I think the other comment that resonates with me, actually, from what Councilmember Lee said, is a key need to balance innovation with public responsibility. And really important to maintain trust and transparency in this process with the use of resources. I think that's really important. So I'm just going to make a few suggestions, maybe 3 or 4 things to consider when you're thinking about experimentation and then innovation and the balance with what we need to do with public resources, like 3 things or 4 things, really consider using iterative approaches. So you don't have to have the outcome, but you can stop at milestones to assess whether you go forward or not. Like, it's not important to push through, essentially is what I'm saying, to what you envision the outcome to be, but assess at a very regular cadence where we are at, especially in today's time where technology and change happens way faster than before. Similar idea is flexibility. The other thing is maintaining transparency in where we are in communications and measurements. I think that will go a very long way in a process which is essentially a public process, but driving innovation. I think maintaining that communication and transparency is super important. So how you communicate that, maybe think about that, like status. It can't be through sort of intermittent reviews at council meetings or things like that, but there needs to be an accessible way to understand that is real time maybe, or maybe not real time, but close. And then the last thing I would say is establishing clear decision-making protocols and governance on how things are proceeding. So I think those would be my 3 suggestions to help this challenge that I'm putting forth at least.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilman Ewenhouse.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Great presentation. I've been a fan of this since this first emerged. We first started thinking about it, and do want to recognize Deputy City Manager Joe Todd also brought this forward and worked on it as well. So this is just great stuff. Echo a lot of the comments by my colleague here about in terms of failing fast, transparency, the measurements. I think those are all wise things to continue to track and measure and make sure we're keeping that top of mind, as well as some of the legalities around it as well. But the transparency piece is just really important, especially given the outreach that the excellent outreach you've already done, and all the different stakeholders as well. And then, of course, with our partnerships, so we want to maintain a fantastic relationship with them. On the partnership perspective, what I wanted to make sure we also have in there is that in the mix, I'm sure this might be top of mind already, but we've also focused on local, we focus on large startups, as not just companies that have the capacity perhaps to do this, but we want to hear all voices. That would be important to me. And then I would love to see it if we can also connect this to our federal legislative agenda as well. We have always highlighted the fact that, and myself and others have gone to the Hill to ask for additional monies to ensure we have digital equity here in the city of Bellevue, because the threat is real that unfortunately we do have kids and some families falling behind that don't have that access. And that is critically important for them in order to take advantage of all the opportunities that they have ahead of them. But if they don't have that access, they're not going to be able to take advantage of it. So I would love to see us work with like government affairs to further look at potentially some grants, and making it top of mind to our congressional delegation as well that might have an interest in what we're doing here, because this is just a fantastic program as we continue to develop this. And then speaking of youth, I didn't really see, and perhaps I missed it, but I didn't really see a place here where youth will have a seat at the table. What does that look like, Sabra?
It's a great question. We've had sort of, we've been lucky to have youth attend the forum and bring things back to their high schools, or in some cases, early college. But we probably should think about doing a more deliberate effort. One of my interests in doing an innovation day in the fall is in the late afternoon, early evening section, trying to think about innovation for kids and families.
Yeah.
So that we could really bring them out quite deliberately and think about how to engage them more through that event. But I love that you're calling that out, and I think we could and should do more.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, would love to see it. I know you had schools down here, but other than that, I just didn't see, again, where they fit into this going forward. So would love to discuss that with you offline as well, see what else we could do. But I know there are a lot of very brilliant youngsters in our community that would love to get involved in this. Plus the accessibility too. We're talking about community court at libraries. I want to make sure that anyone who has an interest in AI but doesn't know what AI is has a place where they can come and learn and take advantage of the information and the tools that we can prospectively give them. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Neuenhuis. Councilmember Sumadeveria.
Thank you. Yes, I will be there tomorrow.
Great.
Yes, okay. Well, by the way, thank you so much. And I love when we have innovation, but it's like including equity together. It's just so important that the collaboration between private and public sector, but for the common good, for the community. Thank you for doing that. And as somebody, I think that there's always a struggle for people understanding technology and not understanding or using AI. So I think there's a lot of clash about our communication. So I really love our team is putting extra effort to have in transparent communication, also engagement. As you know, our fellow council member was saying that I think the protocol to make sure like very consistent communications always the key. I think the key was definitely consistent and also be very proactive about communication because I think more transparent on the information that's actually easily being understood by different community would be really helpful. Because I think everybody levels of digital literacy could be very different and vary from cultures, communities versus groups, right? So I think that's my comment. And then I have two questions actually. One of them is how is the city going to measure the ROI on the staff time and also the resources going to be invested in these partnerships?
Great question. Our intent, once we've built the work plans for the forum itself, is to measure based on what we're trying to achieve and logical measurements from there. So some of that we'll present tomorrow night at the forum and make sure that all three subcommittees are aligned. As we enter into potentially more of these innovative partnerships that the legislation is seeking to address, we will put performance measures around each of those and then come back at a cadence that makes sense to council to talk about them. One of the interesting things that came up for the sub-team, and PJ might want to talk more about this, but is we didn't want to put too much specificity around what it is because we suspect the community has more ideas about innovation than we would be able to put in legislation. So we kept the kind of what is it broad, but the how do you have to implement, what do you have to think about, what kind of partnership would you need with the city is specific. So some of those performance measures will come as we establish and agree on what those partnerships are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, yes. My next question is how are we going to ensure the digital equity process can reach the most underserved, vulnerable community?
It's a great question. The Digital Equity Sub-Team, which is co-chaired brilliantly by Julie David, who I think is still in the audience behind me, is working very hard on pulling together a bunch of different data sources so that as we are making strides in kind of the three typical triangles of equity, which is do you have the technology you need, laptop, phone? Do you have connectivity at home or in a place where it's convenient to use? And then do you have the skills? That team is looking at a bunch of different data sources, including how we might want to do more data collection to make sure that those resources are the most impactful. We did a little bit of that data research when we applied for the Digital Equity for Affordable Housing grant a couple years years ago, and learned, there are areas of need in Bellevue that are greater than others. We targeted those areas for the grant, but the team is working on doing much more. And in addition to Julie David, that team is co-chaired by the Digital Equity Coordinator for KCHS, King County Housing Authority. So she's also working very hard to think about how do we do that in affordable housing properties, and has been a great partner to Bellevue.
Thank you. And these data is going to share it publicly once. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Smodoveria. Councilmember Hamilton.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. I think this is an amazing effort. And I think I work with some amazing colleagues, so I appreciate the comments that have been made so far, especially around digital equity. But they've all been really top-notch. I had a chance to talk with a participant the other day. His interest was in using AI to facilitate at least the beginning of the building permit process, and I was really blown away by the potential return on investment for the city in adopting his solution, and how it can make the experience better for our permitting customers as well. I'm sure there are tons of other great ideas to consider. The forum clearly is generating enthusiasm and momentum to propel many of these ideas forward. And I think as we build partnerships, support digital equity, and strengthen our startup ecosystem, amongst other things, the policy framework will help us to realize the most impactful ideas. I think it's all very exciting. I think great ideas sell themselves, and I'm sold on the Inclusive Innovation Forum, ready to vote to move it forward, and asking you to return with a policy framework. So excellent work so far, and can't wait to see what's to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Hamilton. Sabra, you said it perfectly well. You said this is not just innovation for, I'm paraphrasing, for the innovation sake, it is innovation with intention. I think that's sum it up for me. That's very well said. The fact that you are, every resident in Bellevue can benefit from all of this, I think is amazing. I also plus one with all of council members. I love the social impact metrics. So please use the brain of Councilmember Bargava. Councilmember Lee said it perfectly. I think we always need to have community in mind. I think the balance between feasibility, experiment, startup, feasibility, they are not well matched together. So how we can find a balance, I think, is mentioned. One of my questions was how we ensure youth and students benefit from this, that Councilwoman Nguyen has brought that up, how we can engage high school and Bellevue College more, and I know we are doing those stuff, but how can we do those stuff more? AI, my council members brought that up, but I didn't see that much in the framework. So how can we know it's not anymore a tool in the toolbox, is going to impact everything, and we are not talking about it that much. AI is going to be at every layer, in my opinion, moving forward. So how are you thinking about the role of AI in this framework, and should we start shaping some guideline principle around its responsible and inclusive use sooner than later? That's a question, Mark.
Great question, thank you. We have been working on operational policies for AI for the city of Bellevue. So about 2 years ago, the leadership team adopted interim operational principles that allowed staff to use AI under certain circumstances and with a fair number of guardrails. PJ has been partnering with a sub-team internally and with the policy team in the innovation framework to look at much deeper operational principles around AI. And the LT had our first opportunity to look at that about a month ago now. So it sounds like I would love to follow up with you about that and what we're thinking and how that might tie to the framework before you.
That's awesome. And I appreciate you guys are moving very fast. That's not a typical city timeline, so I really appreciate that you guys are showing that we can move fast in any topic that we want. With this tech partnership, are we thinking, as it brought up, data policy, ethics, procurement fairness, all of those risks that it comes with this partnership?
Absolutely. Some of that is lightly baked into the framework. So, for example, the FAM director, John Risha, has the opportunity to help us do these kind of partnerships now. This framework is designed to let us enter into them quicker while still following all of the city's privacy policies and laws and, all the things that guide that decision-making now also apply if we are entering into these innovation frameworks. We do think there is a likelihood that we will need to update some of those policies in light of how quickly technology is changing. And that's part of what PJ and that public sub-team and an internal sub-team are looking at now. Is do the policies, either the existing state policies or the policies that Bellevue has, are they enough to serve the interests of this, or do we need to strengthen them?
That's awesome. My last question is, how does this innovation forum integrate with other existing innovation efforts that we are doing in this city or other city, Startup 425, Redmond 1? Is there any integration with others?
We have been talking pretty closely with Startup 425 about things like, if we're able to procure physical space, would they have an interest in programming that space in partnership with us? We've also been talking to them about, hey, your folks may want to attend, they might be interested in this contest. So we've been partnering with that team to at least share information across jurisdictions. I have not talked to Redmond yet. We have had conversations with King County and Seattle partners about how can we do this together. But talking to more of our East Side partners is kind of a next step, and we're hoping to get them involved through that event in the fall.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. If there is no more question, we have a motion. Can I get the motion to direct the staff? Yes, absolutely, Councilmember. No, please go ahead.
Hopefully it will not extend. One thing that I have a question about, I'm interested. I understand this is for empowering, giving tools to everyone in the city to be able to utilize innovation, the technology tool. One thing that came to my mind is when other people come in, the example specifically is Waymo. They want to test autonomous vehicle. I mean, that requires innovation on our part. How do we collaborate with them? How do we make this technology work, maybe for the city of Bellevue? I'm wondering, how will this program affect what happens to the example of Waymo? I don't think they didn't stay here, right? Because they couldn't find the partnership opportunity. So they went to somewhere else. They were working out in California. So a case like this, can you quickly say something, whether it's something we can work with or something is not included in this idea of innovation?
Great question, Councilmember Lee. Thank you. I think in the case of Waymo in particular, the city and the transportation department could potentially leverage this framework in order to enter into an agreement. And I would just add that existing state and city guidelines and laws and regulations apply. And if I'm recalling correctly, I believe some of those regulations prevented us from doing that in the past, and this framework would not preempt that. But the idea is that we would be able to enter into partnerships easier that do comply with state law and city guidelines similar to that. But I haven't looked at those state laws around autonomous vehicles in a while. That specific example, we'd probably want to talk to transportation.
Right. But it would not stop us dead at the track, but it would allow us the opportunity to at least explore opportunities and possibilities.
Yes, and those partnerships would still need to comply with state law.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Of course. Can I have a motion, please?
I move to direct staff to return on consent with the proposed resolution to establish a technology innovation policy framework that includes policy support to increase innovative design partnerships.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There is no opposed. Thank you so much and see you tomorrow. You have a verbal confirmation from Councilmember Lee that he will attend, plus me and Councilmember Sumadeveria, on the record.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Also, big thanks to all of our community partners who have been doing a tremendous amount of work on this with us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We appreciate them as well. We have another item on the agenda, Maiden Bower Park City Manager.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and council members. The final item on the agenda does seek your direction. We are seeking direction from the council. So we have staff here from our Parks and Community Services Department, Assistant Director Cameron Parker, and Planning and Development Manager Pam Furman. They presented to council on May 13th. Council had some feedback and some questions, so they're here to respond to those. And after their presentation, they will certainly take questions, but we are looking for council to consider directing staff to proceed with the architectural and engineering design stage for Maiden Bower Bay Park Phase 2. And with that, I will hand it over to Cameron.
All right, thank you and good evening, and Pam will kick us off tonight.
All right, good evening, Deputy Mayor Malek-Yuchian and members of council. We're here this evening to follow up with our Maiden Bower Bay study session update that of May 13th. We've recently concluded a 2-year engagement process, working with park neighbors and the larger community to review the 2010 adopted Maiden Bower Bay Park and Land Use Plan in light of development and updated regulations that have occurred in the last 15 years since that was adopted to help determine the next or second phase of park development. We're seeking council's direction to proceed with architectural and engineering work needed to permit and construct the second phase of implementing the Maiden Bower Bay Park and Land Use Plan. The agenda this evening will include project background, including an overview of the council-adopted Maiden Bower Bay Land Use Plan that we're continuing to implement, scope of work for Phase 2, where we will provide an overview of recommended second phase of work, design phase implementation commitments, and our next proposed steps. Highlighted before you is the council-adopted Park and Land Use Plan. The adopted plan was a result of an incredible, extensive community outreach in 2010. The first phase of park development was completed in 2019 and included an ecologically enhanced ravine, nature trails, expanded swim beach, beach house, play area, curved pier, and kayak launch. The proposed or second phase of development forwards the adopted park plan, including outreach, planning and implementation principles, and suggested sequencing of development. Maiden Bower Bay is a key element in the city's system of parks intended to serve the larger community. This second phase of development is partially funded by the 2022 levy. Phase 2 development not only provides an important opportunity to provide greater water access to the community and lake-to-lake trail system, it also provides beautiful lake and mountain views and connect downtown at Main Street to Lake Washington and Phase 1 park development. Significantly, this second phase will serve as an iconic arrival to Lake Washington and the western anchor of the Grand Connection. Over the last couple of years, significant work with the community, including our park neighbors, downtown stakeholders, and the larger community to inform design and phasing preferences. We used a wide variety of engagement tools as shared with you at the last study session on May 13th. All in all, we had over 13,000 touch points with the community. One of our final surveys sought to get a sense of community satisfaction with the refined designs of the Maidenbower Bay Park Master Plan. And on whole, community-wide, the proposed designs of all future phase designs were well supported. At this point in time, Cameron, will you take it away and,
All right,
and
sure.
conclude?
Thank you, Pam. So from here, looking forward, I'll take a minute to just concisely define what exactly is in the proposed Phase 2 scope of work and what is not included in the Phase 2 scope. In basic terms, Phase 2 is going to focus on a plaza, pathways, and parking that will occur on this gateway parcel as well as the east parcel. More specifically, the Phase 2 project will include intersection improvements at Main and 100th that will connect into a new gateway plaza at the elevation of Main Street. For budget purposes, the plaza will be open and will not include the pavilion that is shown in some of our renderings and concepts for Phase 2. It will also include the canopy walk that extends from the plaza down the hill to the base of the hill. And the plaza and that canopy walk are built over the top of several new bays of parking that will be added on both that gateway parcel and the east parcel as well. Closer to the water's edge, Phase 2 will include an interim path that extends through the promenade area to connect over to the Phase 1 previously developed portion of the park. So looking at all of the expansion areas that we had included in our updated conceptual work, again, the Phase 2 areas highlighted in green as described. Any improvements to the Sunset Terrace and Lake Washington Boulevard areas are not included in the next phase. Although some elements could be, smaller elements might be advanced as separate projects, but not included in Phase 2. And then further study or design of marina slip reductions, the elevated bay connector feature, and shoreline restorations will not occur within the scope of Phase 2. This does include the idea to remove roofs at the existing marina, though that can be evaluated in a future phase. When we presented on May 13th, we heard a number of important elements from the City Council discussion that are important to factor into our designs moving forward. They include those sort of twin concepts of advancing the 2010 master plan and the city's Grand Connection vision, as this is a segment of that overall citywide project. We heard that views of the bay from the plaza are particularly important to ensure that we deliver in the design, as well as the importance of reflecting and interpreting the specific history of that area as we move forward as well. In addition, was a discussion about parking. We heard about the importance of studying the parking supply, what we have, what we plan to include in the future, as well as discussion around improving the wayfinding to existing and future parking areas, as well as just general walking to, biking to the park facilities, and accessibility, making this as accessible as possible to a wide range of people, no matter how they get to the park, and providing loading and drop-off areas that are sufficient and serve both the park and the marina area. The parking studies that were conducted for our concept plans, they are a springboard. Moving forward, there's a lot more work to do, and the additional study will be iterative. So our calculations, as our designs change, our calculations will be modified. We will also go through an extensive land use and permitting process where parking counts and analysis will be further refined. So we, at the end of the day, are required to provide sufficient parking to support both the park and the marina, and that's our intent moving forward. Beyond parking and wayfinding, the council stressed the importance of vigilant budget and cost monitoring as we move forward with efforts to leverage existing budgeted funds that we have for this project. And continuing open lines of communication, and particularly with our nearest neighbors. View design was something that was discussed, and keeping view design and view impact front and center in our future design processes, as well as requiring mitigation strategies throughout construction, particularly, again, for those that live closest to the project. With that, we'll return to the direction slide here tonight. With direction, we're eager to start refining our conceptual designs and take this next large step in implementing this long-held dream of reconnecting our waterfront to Main Street and downtown.
Thank you so much, Pam Cameron, and the entire Parks and Community Service team. Councilmember Hamilton, we'll start with you, sir.
Thank you. Welcome. Appreciate the presentation. Appreciate you returning tonight to provide answers to the questions that were asked a few weeks ago. I had a lot to say on the 13th, so I'll be brief tonight. I think you've done an excellent job of addressing the concerns that were raised. On the 13th, I wanted to be clear that Meydenbauer Bay Park, like all Bellevue parks, are built and maintained to serve the entire community. And when building, enhancing, or maintaining our parks, extra attention should be paid to community members living very near the park. I think that we've conducted a robust public engagement process that centers these priorities, and I want to see that continue as we move forward with Phase 2. I want to see us retain as much parking as possible at the waterfront in the new design and as we go through construction. And I'd like to see us be sure that we have a clear understanding of the parking needs as they change in Phase 2. And if necessary, we should look more closely to be sure that we do. I appreciate you making it very clear in the agenda memo that addressing concerns regarding construction impacts, access and traffic, crime and safety, noise, and decreased privacy will continue to be top priorities. I think you've done a great job here, and I think that the scope of Phase 2 is in line with community preferences, and I'm ready to move it forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Hamilton. Councilmember Bargava.
Yeah, so many of my comments actually echoed what Councilmember Hamilton just said, so I'll keep it brief. But I do want to reiterate the concerns that we hear from the community around preservation of the parking count. Marina is actually not part of this scope, the moorage capacity, so that'll be for subsequent discussions, but that has come up as a concern. I think not part of the scope here. I think I would reiterate what Councilmember Hamilton said about continued public engagement and transparency on status as the design evolves, and keeping that up as a process so that we make sure that we're hearing the feedback, not just at the outcomes, but throughout the process of evolution as well, as you define and further firm up details. That's all, just comments.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Bargava. Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor and Chair of the meeting.
Thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you for coming back again and summarizing, what was discussed May 13th. And I think you've heard the community express their desire, heard some of the discussion on the council. And the most important thing I want to go to is really I know there's a phase 2 you're working on, and that's a future phase. So first, phase 2, it would only be what you're proposing. Phase 3 will be whatever you could do, right, what may happen, but we don't know that. It's going to be determined in the future, okay, based on study, based on whatever you've done, based on whatever, we don't know. So, but what I know is you've made the commitments. The important thing from what we hear from the people who came to talk to us, the neighborhoods, the people who live around Eden-Bower Bay, the yacht club people, the people who live around there, residents and so on, who are going to be most impacted. I understand that when you do outreach, you've done a great job. I have no problem with that. You interview a lot of folks over the years, and however, I believe that the residents, their point of view, their concern, their impact has to be primary. They're small in number. I mean, they are. You interview tens of thousands of people throughout the whole city, maybe even outside the city, but it's the region. But the people who are most going to be impacted are the people who live there. They have to live with it day in, day out, and from the change from what their past is and what the future is going to be, right? And they don't know what's going to happen, really. So based on what you're looking at. So outreach is important, but it's important for the region, but you have to consider particularly for the neighborhood. So I'm looking at your commitment. What's going to happen or not, I don't know, because things may change when you do look at it in the next phase. Things can change. But I hope that you will listen to the public, and I think I have, and most of us have, and you have made some commitments. The commitments, what they're concerned about is parking. I don't know whether you mentioned anything about parking, but you did mention design with attention to view. That's good. You talk about that. Construction, park use, impact, yeah. All this is good. Cost estimates. There's no mention about parking, right? We don't know what may or may not be the parking.
Yes, we will certainly design, moving forward as we get into more of the engineering and architectural details, there will be more study of parking and finding that appropriate supply and dialing that in.
Right, but we don't know what it'd be. Yeah, maybe more, maybe less, maybe more, I don't know. But maybe less, and that's what people are concerned about. So I don't see that. I don't know whether you can make that commitment, but sounds like you cannot. But I would like to see that you do the best you can, including making commitment, unless proven not possible, unless the community, neighborhoods change their mind at that time. It's possible, right? But I think we need to respect that. And we heard that, and we kind of agree that it's important to them. Or at least I do. And I think a few people at the council probably do also. And I think we respect that. But I'm a realist. I don't think that, if it's not possible, the community might change their mind based on the study you do in the future phase. Well, that's fair. But I do like to make sure that we heard them, we make a commitment to do the best we can. And they also mentioned about slips and about the boat availability. I think we know that one of the key ingredients for having this Eden-Bower Bay developed is to connect to the rest of the city, to the neighboring neighborhoods from other places, from Kirkland, from Mercer Island, from Seattle, the boating community. We want to make Bellevue accessible to people on the water, from the water side, right? Because Bellevue is kind of isolated from the water. We don't have many access. And this is one place that's accessible. So I want to encourage making more opportunity for people to come by boat and park the boat there or somehow arrange to get the boat, but at least they make it easy so that they can go to the rest of Bellevue through, Maiden-Bower Bay, through downtown park, through the pedestrian corridor, all the way through a Grand Connection, all the way to, to Wilburton. That's the whole idea of that connection. So I would hope that that includes as part of the consideration. That also means that people from Bellevue can go to other places, from the boat, right? If people come, people can go. Why not? So I think that's why if we can do that, there may be a higher demand for using the boat slips. I don't know, right? But if we do it right, do it well, with the original intention, it could be better and more used. So that's the second one. Third point is historical thing. I think that makes sense. Bellevue is a city, we don't have Bellevue is a new city. We're only, 70-some years old, incorporated. But even before that, it's not that old. It's just basically a whaling port. People come and the whaling fleet, and they clean up the whale and use the oil for energy. But it has become, not very popular, so we don't want to be identified as a whaling port. But still, it's a historical piece, good or bad, whatever it's worth. So I think people living there has emphasized as a point. And you also included that as that has some historical context. I hear that in some of your description, you mentioned something with historical, reflect and interpret area history. So I think that might be a good thing you ought to do as a historical impact. I don't know how that would affect the parking, how to affect other things, but I would think that there may be some connection. I don't know what the community would say about that, but we can listen to it. So these are the 3 points I want to make. So if you have any response, I would like to hear from you. Otherwise, I think I want you to talk to anyway, I'd like to hear if the mayor,
please.
that's mine? Yeah.
I think, in general, just reiterating, commitments around continuing our outreach with neighbors, and then committing to, finding and supplying the sufficient parking that will serve the park and the marina both, and including the historic interpretation in our designs are definitely all three commitments we're prepared to include and move forward with.
So adequate parking, you will continue to look into that. But the question is, what is adequate to the residents? What's adequate to our study? We don't know that yet, right? Or you have some thoughts on that?
We do have the work that was done as part of the conceptual plan over the past couple of years. We do have additional data points that have been supplied by MBNA and other feedback points that will kind of all go into the hopper. And as we are moving from concept to more accurate designs of what the site use will be, and as we go through our permitting process, all of that parking will be a thread throughout that whole process.
Okay, but you don't know what it is now until you go through the process.
Correct.
Okay, so you can answer the community the question whether they can maintain the same parking numbers. No.
It will be, the amount of parking will be different. Our concept right now includes more parking than we have today. That anticipates more features available at the park.
Okay.
And so we do expect at the end of the day, there will be more parking supply in the end product than in today's condition.
Good. Well,
That
that's a good
exact number-
information for the residents. Yeah, maybe they might be satisfied, whatever. But at least that's good information. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you so
Thank
much,
you.
Councilmember Lee. Councilmember Smadeveria.
echo everybody was saying. And then I'm just looking at the picture. It looks like very beautifully, the slide 5, it looks like a rainbow color because there's so many trails interacting with each other. With that, what is the timeline it's going to be able to deliver phase 2?
Sure. We're anticipating that there's probably about a year of design before we can submit for permits, and permits will take about 3 years, so somewhere between 3 and 4 years. We're working next to a shoreline, which we'll need to address and is a longer timeline for our permits.
Okay. And then I understand like the residents' concern about, disruption on like the parking. And also my heart is more on the, I guess, the business on the main street where, there's a lot of street level activated businesses. You don't have to answer me right now. We can come back. But my question is, how will the construction phases, how are we going to actively try to minimize the disruption on the existing parking spaces? We can come back to that. I think that could be a multi-pronged answer, how we can be actively engaging, what method we think about. My next question is, because it's right near where everyone, I think the resident paid good amount of investment to have that great place of view. So I was wondering, how does the design elements like, forest thread or other architect screening protects the neighborhood privacy while we're doing the construction? I'd like to learn more about that. And then while we're still enhancing the park experience. That's it for me.
Thank you so much for your question, Councilmember Sumadaweria. Councilmember Nieuwenhuis.
Yeah, great conversation so far, a lot of great comments. I'll just get right to some of the points that I wanted to make, some of the questions too. One of them, as was mentioned regarding like first responders, utility access, et cetera, that's being taken into consideration strongly, I would assume, right? With the in and out, especially on 100th, et cetera, so. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. On the slips, I just wanted to confirm that's something that's going to be addressed in the next phase, not this phase, correct? As well as if the roofs are staying on or off, that's all for next stage, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we will have public outreach. We will reach out to the community and hear what we have to say and any future stage of development.
Great. And kudos, I know you've done a lot of outreach, and it's important to, not only myself, but I think all my colleagues, that we maintain that very clear, transparent, and robust outreach, and we're hearing from those neighbors that are going to be most impacted by the constructions and the designs, et cetera. So look forward to hearing more on that. On the parking, I think Councilmember Lee makes a good point here in terms of how you're going to, as you said, assure sufficient parking. I think you only can assure in terms of what's going into that analysis, and that leads me to the question that about the consultant that was used and some of the I guess data that was being used in terms of getting to the right number of parking stalls. Is it accurate that the consultant used 4 to 5 people were in each car? Was that part of the equation? That was part of our comments that we had earlier this evening. Is that accurate?
There was not an assumption of 4 to 5 people in a
There was
car.
not that assumption. Okay.
No.
Okay. The thing I'm concerned about, and we touched on it a little bit here already during construction, but beyond construction, and in your comments about having adequate parking for the marina and the park. However, there's parking's at a premium there, and if people want to go to Biz on Main or even walk even a little further down to Belden Cafe, they're going to park wherever they're going to find a spot. And a lot of times they might circle until they can find a spot, and taking up some of those valuable spots at the marina and at the park. It's already happening at Downtown Park and other areas. So I think we need to further maybe grow the definition of what adequate parking looks like here, to understand that there will be people parking there maybe with not the intent to use the park or use the marina, but head for dinner or lunch or what have you. So I'm a strong advocate that we need to, at a minimum, maintain the number of stalls that we have right now, or even increase them, because especially, this is somewhat seasonal too, especially during the summer months, right, when more people want to get on their boat, or more people want to come to Main Street for dinner or drinks or what have you. So that's important to me. So I guess making sure we're putting in the right data to come to that equation in terms of what is an adequate number of parking spots around there. So, really appreciate the community-driven approach to this. Again, just want to reinforce that. And we've had great comments made to us, and I appreciate all the neighborhoods that have been very engaged in this process and providing really valuable feedback to assure that we're going to further refine this amazing jewel of a park in our park system, and look forward to further enjoying it this summer and for many summers more. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilwoman Neuenhaus. Thank you so much. I think all of my fellow council members covered all of the question that I had. I just wanted to just dive deep a little bit more on your favorite topic, parking. How many parking are we building new in the phase 2?
So just today in the park today, there's 117
117.
parking spaces that serve the park. What's proposed for phase 2 on the gateway parcel and the east parcel adds up to 80. So 80 new parking spaces. That is offset to some degree by the parking that will be impacted along the waterfront in the promenade area. So there will be some amount of subtraction. That's where we haven't gotten far enough in moving from conceptual to actual design to know exactly what that looks like and what the impact will be there.
So what you are saying is, when we are walking through that path that you are is going to be built part of this, we are not demolishing all of the parkings.
No, we do need to maintain accessible parking spots, the load and unload areas, and then parking that will still serve the marina as it is today without any changes to our slip configuration.
So do you know how many parking existing do we have in that area that we are going to make that pathways?
Currently in the marina area, parking is 69 parking
69.
spots.
So I know it's estimate, but out of that 69, so we are adding 80, out of that 69, how many of them you think we are going to keep? Guesstimate.
Yes, please don't hold us to any numbers, but
I know the people who are recording, so don't worry about it.
Okay. I think 20 to 25.
We have 25, could be more, depending on what we end up needing there. We have minimally 155 total, going from 117 at this point in time. But again, we don't have the construction drawings. How many spots exactly, finitely, that we're
We need some
contracting to go?
engineering work and some design work, but in general, currently we have 117. Around the path that goes to Marina, we have 69. Overall, we are adding 80, and we are keeping maybe half of the pathways at least for the essential needs that we have. I think that's a good balance. The whole, I think my council members are saying, keep the additional parking, more is better. I think that's the message that we are all saying. So give that when you are doing the design and all of the engineering works. I don't have any other question. Anyone else has any question, or we have a motion language, and I can get a motion, please.
I move to direct staff to proceed with architectural and engineering contracting to support permitting and construction of Maidenbower Bay Park Phase 2.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
There is no one opposed. Thank you so much again for coming to us and being the last item.
Thank you.
That's it all, am I right? So we can adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.